Chapter 1477. After a few brief greetings, Roland suddenly said, "Why isn't Huang Kai here?" Tang Sheng said, "Director, I've already informed him, but I can't get in touch with him." Roland frowned. "He's actually not coming to such an important meeting. What's with his attitude?" Tang Sheng then said to Carter, "Captain Carter, send someone to Huang Kai's house to take a look. Ask him to come over quickly." Carter nodded, then walked to a man standing a little further away and said, "Go to Captain Huang Kai's house and ask him to hurry up and attend the meeting." After saying this, his voice suddenly became inaudible. "Go home and sleep." The branded warrior was slightly stunned. Then his brain suddenly turned, and he said, "I'll go right away." The 4 captains of the branded army were all here, but the most important one, Huang Kai, was missing. However, no one here knew that Huang Kai would never come, nor did they know that there was a special visitor in this laboratory, and they couldn't see this visitor at all. Let's get down to business. Roland led the conversation to the main topic. Today, I've called everyone here mainly because of 2 things. I'll talk about the first one first, which is also the most serious one. Then he moved his gaze to a man wearing glasses. "Member Kong Long, you're in charge of intelligence work. Tell everyone about the situation." The bespectacled Kong Long was about 50 years old. He was thin, had sharp eyes, and gave people the impression that he was especially calm and steady. He walked to Roland's side, but he was not in a hurry to explain. Instead, he took out a miniature projector. He activated the projector, and a 3-dimensional projection instantly appeared in the void. Charlotte's gaze moved over, and when he saw the content of the projection, he was completely stunned. It was a video of the Blue Moon people attacking an underground city. A large number of Blue Moon soldiers, new protective armor, powerful energy weapons, and combat mecha appear to be weak in the face of the Blue Moon people's military strength. Soldiers died, civilians were captured, and the entire underground city was burning and bleeding. The image quickly changed to the ground. In the sky above the ruins of a city, a huge warship was hovering. Aircrafts constantly flew out from it, bombing the armed forces on the ground. There were also transport spaceships continuously sending captured people onto the battleship. The 3D projection was still playing. Kong Long said in a deep voice, "This happened in an underground city in District 34 yesterday. An underground city with a population of 100,000 was destroyed overnight. Everyone disappeared. The soldiers died in battle, and the civilians were sent to the Blue Moon as food." "Damn it!" A branded warrior clenched his fist and said, "We should kill our way to Blue Moon and kill all those big-eyed beasts." Roland looked at the branded warrior who was filled with righteous indignation and said coldly, "Impulsive. Your mission is to protect the Academy, not to be cannon fodder. As long as we protect the Academy, the spark of humanity's revival will not be extinguished." The branded warrior shut his mouth. Under the office desk, Xiaolei was filled with rage. He wanted nothing more than to rush up and tear Roland's mouth off his face, skin, and flesh together. As long as the Academy was protected, the spark of humanity's revival would not be extinguished. These words sounded dignified and inspiring, but in reality, a small number of people led by Roland had taken control of the Academy and treated the Heavenly Jewel Academy as their own kingdom. These people were greedy for pleasure in the Academy, playing with power and toying with the female students. How could they save the civilians who were in dire straits? Kong Long continued, "Such a thing has never happened since we humans moved to the underground. This is the first time." A bald old man said, "The first time? Could it be that the Blue Moon people found it difficult to hunt on the surface, so they couldn't help but attack the underground cities?" "Chairman Jiang." Kong Long's expression was solemn. "I'm afraid things are not as simple as you think. Our intelligence network not only obtained this video, but we also obtained another piece of information that cannot be verified." "What information?" Tang Xing asked. Kong Long said, "The Blue Moon people's army suddenly moved out and massacred the underground city of District 34, capturing almost all the civilians. This is a signal that a large amount of food is needed. The unverifiable information that we obtained is that the king of the Blue Moon people might be revived after 1,000 years. There were gasps in the laboratory. Fear and despair immediately spread throughout the laboratory. Even Charlotte was shocked and uneasy by this unverifiable information. On Earth, he was the special consultant of 101 innings, and he was also the trump card of 101 innings. He had extraordinary intuition when it came to intelligence. The Blue Moon people attacked an underground city for no reason and captured almost all the civilians. This was a very obvious signal. He had a feeling that the unverifiable information that Kong Long mentioned was true. The king of the Blue Moon people was about to be revived. The bald old man, called Chairman Jiang, looked anxious. Then what are we waiting for? We should gather all the leaders of the cities, including those from the Black Market Alliance. We should form an alliance to fight against the Blue Moon people. If we are still scattered, our cities will be destroyed one by one. What awaits us is the fate of extinction. Roland said calmly, Professor Jiang, you are too nervous. The theory of the extinction of humans has been going on for 1,000 years, but we are still alive, aren't we? This is just an unverified information. When we confirm the authenticity of this information, we can discuss the feasibility of your proposal. This bald old man was the chairman of the committee, but Roland did not even have a title of respect. From Charlotte's point of view, Roland suddenly arranged for Tang Sheng to be part of the committee because he wanted Tang Sheng to replace Professor Jiang and control the committee. This way, he would have complete control of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, and the Heavenly Jewel Academy would truly become his kingdom. But Professor Jiang said in a regretful tone, we have been nurtured by the entire human race. The students in the Heavenly Jewel Academy are all elites selected from all over the world. We have resources that the cities do not have. We have technology, we have weapons, and we have the branded army. We should do something. We can't just stand by and watch. Enough. Roland was angry. Professor Jiang, do you know what you were saying? It is not that we do not want to take action, but we cannot do so casually. We only have one ship. Do you think we can defeat the Blue Moon people's fleet? Once we are discovered, the Blue Moon people's army will soon appear here, and we will all die. I, Roland, am not afraid of death, but if all the students here die, who will develop and revive the civilization? Professor Jiang said. Bai Ling stepped forward and held Professor Jiang's arm. Teacher, don't say any more. There is no use in being anxious. Professor Jiang sighed and did not say anything. Bai Ling moved closer to Professor Jiang's ear and lowered her voice. Commander Kanto is here. She brought a friend here. That person is called Charlotte. He is the most extraordinary genius I have ever seen. He might be able to help us through this difficult time. I will bring him to see you tomorrow, and you two can have a chat. Okay, I will definitely bring him here. Professor Jiang seemed to feel a little better. On the other side, Charlotte smiled bitterly. He thought to himself, you really know how to find things for me to do. You are not even feeding me, so why should I help you? Wait, stop. Eat. Eat your head. He inexplicably thought of the matter of drinking milk, and Xia Lei sweated profusely. When he saw a beautiful woman, he did not think about sleeping with her, but drinking her milk. He was becoming more and more perverted. Seeing Bai Ling and Professor Jiang whispering, Roland seemed to have noticed something, and his eyes turned cold. He shifted his gaze to Tang Sheng, and Tang Sheng nodded his head slightly. Charlotte immediately frowned. That look, Roland wants Tang Sheng to kill Professor Jiang. These two fellows really deserve to die. I have said what I wanted to say. Kong Long put away his miniature projection device. Roland said, now I will talk about the second thing. Professor Yang Qing, please explain it. A young woman stood out. She was tall, about 1.8 meters tall. She was on the thin side, but her breasts were shocking. They were at least F-cup. She gave people the feeling that she could not bear the weight of her chest at any time and fall forward. She was extremely tall, had a slim figure, and had an F-class voluptuous body. Coupled with her exquisite and beautiful face, she and Bai Ling were two completely different kinds of women, but they were both women who could make people's eyes light up. Yang Qing opened a test report in her hand and said, Charlotte's blood test report is out. His blood is very normal, and the composition is the same as that of ordinary people. There are no abnormalities in his red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, connective tissues, and so on. After a pause, she changed the topic. However, I found the genetic organization in his blood, which is different from any of us. His genes are perfect, and there are no obvious mistakes. In addition, his blood contains an unknown energy substance, which is somewhat similar to the energy contained in spirit ores, but not the same. I can't confirm what that energy substance is. My judgment is that he... At this point, Yang Qing stopped again. Tang Sheng urged, Professor Yang Qing, you are the representative of the biological world in our academy. Your opinion represents authority. Just say it. Don't worry about anything. Yang Qing said, my preliminary judgment is that he has evolved ahead of time, and his degree of evolution far exceeds that of our branded warriors. What? Tang Sheng said in surprise. Only our academy has the AE stock solution. How could he have evolved ahead of time? Yang Qing shrugged. I don't know, and my analysis is that his evolution is very natural. There are no mistakes, which means that there are no side effects. Do you mean that he evolved naturally? It was Roland who spoke. His voice was trembling, and it was difficult to suppress the excitement in his heart. Yang Qing nodded. Yes, natural evolution. There is no mistake. Then he is the answer we have been looking for. Ha 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 ha. Roland suddenly burst into laughter. Tang Sheng said excitedly, study him. We can solve the problem that is currently plaguing the entire Branded Legion. Once the evolution error is solved, the Branded Legion will become the most powerful superpower legion in the world. Wait, Professor Jiang said. Yang Qing, how is this possible? Even the holy lightning from 1,000 years ago did not reach the level of natural evolution, but you used the word perfect a lot. How could that Charlotte have evolved to such a level naturally? I don't know, Yang Qing said. Wouldn't you know after studying him? Tang Sheng sneered. He delivered himself to our door. This is the holy lightning having a spirit. It specially used this method to help us solve our problems and overcome our difficulties. What are you going to do to Mr. Xia? Bai Ling seemed to realize something, and she became nervous. Tang Sheng's face darkened. Are you worried about him? Chapter 1478. Dean Roland. Professor Jiang said in a deep voice, such a plan must be discussed by the committee and then voted on. A hint of contempt appeared at the corner of Roland's mouth. Is that so? This academy is not just for you, nor is it for a few of you. Professor Jiang was very angry. The Heavenly Jewel Academy has been a democratic academy since its establishment, not a dictatorship. You can't make such a decision without the committee. I don't agree with this plan. Bai Ling said, I don't agree either. Mr. Xia is very important to us and even to the entire human race. If he really has natural evolution, then he will be a miracle for our entire human race. His wisdom can give us great help and even lead the entire human race through this disaster. You want to capture him and then use him as a lab rat to study him. This is undoubtedly killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. The few committee members in the laboratory were in a heated discussion. From their words, it was clear that they supported Professor Jiang and Bai Ling. However, their discussion was quickly interrupted by Roland. Enough! Roland shouted. You pedantic fellows! It is your pedantry and soft-heartedness that makes us weak. His body is of great research value to us. I don't care if you agree to this or not. This is my decision, and I will not change it. Professor Jiang was so angry that he was trembling. Good. You have finally revealed your true colors. In the eyes of the dean, the committee is already in name, right? Well, I am in a hurry to hold the academy meeting and let everyone know your true colors. I want to hold a democratic election in the name of the committee to impeach you and elect a new dean. Impeach me? Roland was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed out loud. Professor Jiang, I think you have lost your mind. It is power that has made you lose your mind. Professor Jiang was not polite. Dean Roland's laughter suddenly stopped, and his expression instantly became ferocious. He roared, "Arrest them!" There were 4 captains of the Branded Legion in this room, and these 4 captains also brought the strongest confidants of their respective teams. Roland informed the 5 captains and asked them to bring 2 to 3 branded warriors over. In fact, he already knew about the test report and wanted to do it for a long time. He was the one who had arranged for Professor Yang Qing's blood sample to be tested. How could Yang Qing not be the first to tell him the results? Now, it seemed that his surprised reaction after hearing the report was just an act. He had already predicted Professor Zhang's reaction, so he had informed a few captains to bring the branded warriors over. He wanted to get rid of Professor Jiang and the few committee members who opposed him. However, even though Dean Roland had given the order, the target of arrest was the highly respected Professor Jiang, a few committee members, and the Academy's bell. The captains and the branded warriors that they had brought along were all stunned for a moment and did not immediately execute the order. They glanced at Dean Roland, as if waiting for him to confirm the order again. Without waiting for President Roland to speak, Tang Xing shouted, "What are you waiting for? Didn't you hear the Dean's order? Capture them all." Only then did the captains and branded warriors take action. They swarmed forward, and in the blink of an eye, they captured the person they wanted to capture. "Roland, you old thief. What do you want to do? You're crazy." Professor Jiang shouted angrily. "Let me go. Let me go." Bailing struggled with all her might. Dean Roland sneered. "Do you know why I asked you to come to the laboratory for a meeting? Because the chemical solution here can make you disappear completely from this world. Not even a trace of you will be left. You will get what you deserve." Professor Zhang's voice was filled with anger. "Bring them to the purification room and kill them with their navels. Then dispose of their bodies," Dean Roland said. A few branded warriors escorted Professor Jiang and the committee members to the purification room. It was in the laboratory, a transparent glass room. "Dean Roland, I didn't oppose you. I'm innocent," Yang Qing cried. Roland said, "Then you will be the one to kill them and dispose of their bodies. In this way, you will be considered one of us. Are you willing?" Yang Qing was suddenly stunned. Roland sneered, "You can't do it, right? Bring them in." "No, no," Yang Qing cried and struggled. A branded warrior slammed his palm on her carotid artery. She groaned and fainted. "You two, wait a minute." Tang Sheng walked towards the 2 branded warriors who were escorting Bailing. He walked in front of Bailing and said, "Be my woman, a real woman. Stay with me tonight, and I can save you." "Bah!" Bailing spat on Tang Sheng's face. Tang Sheng could have dodged it, but he didn't. "Tang Sheng, you make me feel disgusted. I really regret knowing you," Bailing said angrily. Tang Sheng wiped the saliva off his face and said coldly, "Then go to hell. I want to see you struggle in the poisonous gas and die, and then watch your body melt. Aren't you very beautiful? When that time comes, you will turn into a pool of red liquid and be flushed into the sewer." "Bah!" Bailing opened her mouth and spat at Tang Sheng again. This time, Tang Sheng dodged it. "Bring her in." The 2 branded warriors brought Bailing to the purification room and pushed her in. Bailing staggered and fell to the ground. The door of the purification room was closed. A few committee members desperately smashed the special glass wall and screamed in horror, but their voices couldn't be heard at all. Professor Jiang sat on the ground and muttered to himself, but even he didn't know what he was saying. Bailing got up from the ground, and tears rolled down from the corner of her eyes. No one could be fearless in the face of death. She was actually very afraid in her heart, but she didn't want Tang Sheng to see her afraid, so she was prepared to stand and accept her death. Outside the purification room, more than 10 people watched coldly. There was no mercy in their eyes, not even the slightest bit of humanity. It was as if the person who was about to be executed in the purification room wasn't the professors and scholars who they interacted with day and night, but rather a lab rat. Dean Roland laughed out loud. "After we get rid of these annoying fellows, this academy will be ours. For 1,000 years, the academy has been operating on the wrong track, and now we will adjust it to the right track." Believe me, it won't be long before we become a powerful kingdom. I will follow the dean to build this kingdom. Tang Sheng said. We all pledge our lives to follow the dean. A group of branded warriors also expressed their loyalty. Roland said, let me tell you, in my heart, I have a great plan for a long time. I want to catch Charlotte and find the answer to our mistakes from him. Then we will wait for the transport ship to come in and open up the sky, fly out of here, and go to another planet that is suitable for us to live on to redevelop our civilization. There are many girls in the academy, and we also have a rich sperm and egg bank. It won't take long for us to develop. At that time, you will all be the founders of civilization. Haha, laughter. I'll deal with it myself. Tang Sheng walked to the control panel of the purification room. The committee members who were desperately smashing the glass wall saw Tang Sheng walk to the control panel, and they seemed to realize something. They completely collapsed. Some collapsed to the ground, some knelt on the ground and begged for mercy, and some even hit the glass wall with their heads. Bailing looked at Tang Sheng standing in front of the control panel. Death was coming, but at this moment, she suddenly quieted down and stopped crying. Bailing, aren't you afraid? Tang Sheng's voice came from the speaker. Kneel and apologize to me. I will forgive you. Bailing suddenly raised her right hand and pointed her middle finger at Tang Sheng. Go to hell. Be *TCH. Tang Sheng's hand pressed down on the release switch in anger. Suddenly, a strong force came down from above and instantly cut Tang Sheng's wrist. Poof! Blood sprayed out. Tang Sheng's right hand and half of his wrist fell to the ground. Ah! Tang Sheng screamed in horror. His feet kicked the ground, and he flew back a few meters. As the commander of the Branded Legion, he was the strongest in the Branded Legion. How could his reaction not be fast? The other Branded warriors also reacted quickly. Tang Sheng's wrist was strangely cut, and the 4 captains and more than 10 Branded warriors instantly pulled out their weapons. Some are cold weapons, and some are energy pistols. The AE energy on their bodies suddenly increased, and the entire laboratory was filled with AE energy. It felt like a barrel of gunpowder, and the slightest spark would cause it to explode. What's going on? What happened? Dean Roland was also shocked, but he quickly calmed down. Did any of you see anything? More than 10 Branded warriors vigilantly observed the interior of the laboratory, but they did not find anything. Tang Sheng suddenly shouted, There's an assassin. He can turn invisible. This sentence made the already tense atmosphere even more tense. Use fire. Tang Sheng's thought process was extremely fast. Use fire to heat the fire sensor. Water the laboratory, and that guy will appear. One of the Branded warriors suddenly raised his hands, and a scorching flame suddenly appeared in his palms. However, at that moment, a huge wound suddenly appeared on his neck, and blood spurted out. The flame stopped abruptly, and the fire sensor did not spray any water. In the purification room, a few committee members who were about to go crazy quietened down and looked at what was happening outside the glass wall with their mouths agape. Bailing also could not hold it in any longer. She rushed to the glass wall in a few steps, put her face on the glass wall, and stared outside. Tang Sheng turned on the speaker, and the voices outside came from the speaker. So, she and a few committee members knew what was happening. However, she could not see the assassin that Tang Sheng was talking about. In the laboratory, Tang Sheng suddenly kicked an experiment table, and it flew up. The strength of his leg was quite terrifying, and the experiment table, which was about 100 kilograms, flew up from the ground and hit the ceiling. His motive was simple, but it was very smart. He wanted to use the experiment table to smash the fire sensor and then directly destroy the water pipe so that water would spray down. A Branded warrior suddenly leaped to a corner of the laboratory and punched the fire sensor on the ceiling. This was quite a good coordination. The assassin with the invisibility device could not attack 2 targets at the same time. Chapter 1479. Kacha. A strange sound, like a sharp knife cutting through a carrot or a sugar cane. Tang Sheng let out a blood-curdling scream and fell to the ground. The sole of his right foot was chopped off from his ankle. Blood spurted out, and the sole of his foot rolled twice on the ground before stopping. Bang! The laboratory table hit the ceiling, and the entire table was embedded into the ceiling. Alas, no water sprayed down from above. On the other hand, the branded warrior had succeeded. His fist was covered in flames. Although the temperature of the flames was not as high as real fire, the fire sensor head still reacted. An alarm sounded, and water was poured from the ceiling to extinguish the fire. It started to rain in the laboratory. A human figure appeared in the rain. Charlotte's figure and Charlotte's face gradually became clearer in the rain. Water was not light, and Charlotte's branded power was unable to absorb or refract water. In the rain, he was unable to become invisible. Xiaolei's position was right beside Tang Sheng. He was holding an ancient dagger in his hand. That was the royal family's heirloom, the Ice Soul Dagger. When they had left for the Heavenly Jewel Academy, Langer had lent him this dagger. It's you. Tang Sheng had lost an arm and a leg, but he had not fainted. From this, one could see how strong he was and how firm his will was. However, this Legion commander of the Heavenly Jewel Academy's strongest branded Legion had his hands and feet cut off like a carrot. What kind of terrifying power did the culprit have? Although Charlotte was forced to show himself, his aura was even stronger than the branded Legion. It's me. Charlotte had a strange smile on his face. In order to force me to show myself, you are really going all out. In your opinion, I should assassinate that fellow. He pointed at the branded warrior who had successfully made the fire sensor head release water and said, "But I won't kill him. If he releases water, I will kill you." Tang Sheng spat out a mouthful of blood. It was not because of his serious injuries, but because he was so angry that he vomited blood. He was the Legion commander of the branded Legion. When had he ever been trampled on like this? Humiliated? Charlotte had not only chopped off one of his arms and one of his legs, but he had also chopped off his dignity. Charlotte didn't even look at Tang Sheng. His gaze shifted to Roland. He was expressionless, and his eyes were extremely cold. I didn't expect you to do such a thing. You really deserve to die. What are you waiting for? Kill him. Tang Sheng roared. His voice was still echoing in the laboratory when Charlotte suddenly took a step to the side, raised his foot, and stepped heavily on Tang Sheng's neck. Tang Sheng saw Charlotte move. He instinctively wanted to dodge, but at that moment, his body seemed to be pressed to the ground by a large hand, unable to move. No! Tang Sheng screamed in horror. Charlotte's right foot stomped on Tang Sheng's neck. Kacha! It was the sound of the cervical vertebra breaking. Tang Sheng's head tilted to the side powerlessly. Everyone had fantasized about the scene of their own death, but to be trampled to death was a way that Tang Sheng had never dreamed of. It was also the most humiliating way to die. In the purification room, Bailing watched everything that had just happened with her eyes wide open. Just as Charlotte trampled Tang Sheng to death, Charlotte seemed to have become incomparably tall in her eyes, and his entire body seemed to be glowing. In every woman's heart, there was an unparalleled hero, and at this moment, Charlotte was her unparalleled hero. He had pulled her back from the brink of death, and he had used such a thunderous method to seek justice for her, making her feel proud and elated. Bailing, the Charlotte you were talking about, is it him? Professor Zhang's voice was trembling. Bailing nodded her head heavily and said excitedly, "It's him. It's him. It's him. It's him I'm talking about." Amazing! Professor Jiang exclaimed. In the laboratory, all the branded warriors pounced on Charlotte. Charlotte had trampled their Legion commander to death in front of them. When had the branded Legion ever suffered such humiliation? Moreover, it concerned their own life and death. Therefore, the four captains and the elite branded warriors they had brought with them attacked furiously. Their imposing manner made it seem as if they could not wait to smash Charlotte into minced meat. Kill him. Whoever kills him will take over Tang Sheng's position. Roland roared. Charlotte also moved, holding a dagger and rushing into the group of branded warriors. The moment both sides came into contact, a bloody scene unfolded. Screams rang out in the laboratory. A second ago, a head flew off, and a second later, an arm flew off. Fresh blood flowed on the ground, dyeing it red. Mutilated corpses fell down one by one, and their deaths were horrifying. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the branded warriors had fallen. However, after paying such a heavy price, they did not even manage to tear off a corner of Charlotte's clothes. When the branded warriors pounced on Charlotte, they did not expect such an outcome. In their minds, no matter how powerful Charlotte was, he would not be able to defeat so many people. They would be injured, and there might even be casualties, but Charlotte would definitely be beaten to death by them. However, in the blink of an eye, more than half of them had fallen to Charlotte, and they did not even manage to touch a corner of Charlotte's clothes. With such a huge disparity in strength, how could they fight? The morale of the branded warriors disappeared in the blink of an eye, and some of them even turned around and fled towards the door. Trash! Roland suddenly pounced on the corpse of a branded warrior, pulled out an energy pistol from the corpse, and fired a shot at Charlotte and a few other branded warriors. Boom! A few branded warriors were instantly blown into minced meat, and there was no one left standing at the place where the battle had taken place. No, Lark screamed, and tears flowed out of her eyes. Charlotte had given her hope of survival, and he had also given the Academy hope, but now, all hope had been shattered. Ha ha ha! Roland laughed loudly. You are powerful, you are fast, but can you be faster than a gun? Idiot, you should have killed me first. Ah! With a blood-curdling scream, the branded warrior who had escaped to the entrance of the laboratory fell to the ground. Charlotte appeared at the entrance of the laboratory and said calmly, "On the contrary, I was prepared to kill you last. Moreover, I don't think that there is any difference. In my eyes, you're already a dead man." You. Roland had only said one word when his right index finger suddenly pulled the trigger. A cold light suddenly flashed, and in an instant, it traversed the space between the two of them. When it stopped again, it was already in Roland's right wrist. Roland let out a blood-curdling scream, and the energy pistol fell to the ground. Charlotte's body instantly sped up, and the water lilies that were pouring down from the ceiling were smashed by him, leaving behind a comet-like trajectory. Bang! Roland's body flew up from the ground, crashing through the laboratory tables and experimental equipment, and finally slamming heavily into the wall before stopping. Bada! Roland fell to the ground. He was not dead yet. He was also a person who had been injected with the AE solution, and his vitality was far stronger than ordinary people. However, he could not get up again because the impact from Charlotte just now was like a high-speed train crashing into his body, and almost all the bones in his body were broken. He is still alive. He is still alive. Lark was so excited that she jumped up, but unfortunately, Charlotte did not seem to hear her. Charlotte walked to Roland's side, bent down, and pulled out the Ice Soul dagger from Roland's wrist. Then, he rubbed the dagger against Roland's face twice, wiping off the blood on it. "Don't kill me." Cough. Roland's voice was very weak. You want, whatever you want, I can give it to you. The Branded Legion, no, I can give you the entire Academy. Puff! As soon as he finished speaking, a mouthful of blood spurted from Roland's mouth. Charlotte looked at him. At this point, do you still think the Heavenly Jewel Academy is yours? Can you give it to me? Save me, Roland begged. Charlotte sneered. Killing a person like you will dirty my hands. I will let the committee members decide your fate. If they don't kill you, I will kill you, okay? Puff! Roland spurted blood again. Charlotte walked to the control panel and opened the door of the purification room. Mr. Xia, Lark was the first to rush out of the purification room. She threw herself at Charlotte and hugged him. Sometimes people would lose control. However, losing control was losing control. After surviving a disaster, Lark did not care about the eyes of the committee members behind her. At this time, she just wanted to hug Charlotte, her unparalleled hero. She was plump and fragrant, and the killing intent and hostility on Charlotte's body was suddenly diluted. He froze slightly. He did not hug Lark, but he did not push her away either. Kong Long, who was in charge of intelligence work, suddenly rushed to Roland, who was still breathing. He picked up an experimental instrument and smashed it on Roland's head. Bang! Bang, bang, bang. Roland's head was smashed by the experimental instrument, and then it was deformed. Finally, it turned into a lump of rotten meat, where even the face could not be seen. Kong Long spat a mouthful of phlegm on Roland's body, kicked him, and added, "Damn it, scum." All the committee members who were going to be executed left the purification room. Even Yang Qing, who had fainted, was carried out. After being splashed with water, she slowly woke up. She saw corpses all over the ground, as well as heads, broken hands, and feet. She said in horror, "Am I in hell? Am I dead? We are all alive. Mr. Xia saved us." Professor Jiang walked towards Charlotte. Lark was still holding Charlotte, and she did not notice the situation behind her at all. She was immersed in a state that even she did not know. Professor Jiang coughed dryly. Only then did Lark react, and she hurriedly let go of Charlotte. In an environment where there were corpses everywhere, and even the air was filled with the smell of blood, she actually blushed. "Mr. Xia." Professor Jiang walked up to Charlotte, and his tone was full of sincerity and gratitude. "I know that a word of thanks is far from enough, but I still want to thank you. Not only did you save our lives, but you also saved the Academy." Xia Lei's mouth quirked up in a faint smile. The Heavenly Jewel Academy is a sacred place, and it should be left to someone like you to manage it. No need to thank me. I just did the right thing. Professor Jiang said, "When I heard Lark talk about you, I really wanted to meet you. I didn't expect that our first meeting would be in such an environment. Let's go somewhere else to talk." However, Xia Lei said, "Now is not the time to talk. Although Roland and Tang Sheng are already dead, the two of them have controlled the Branded Legion for a long time, and they will soon find out about what happened here. You have to make plans as soon as possible and take control of the Branded Legion, or else there will be trouble." "Yes, Mr. Xia is right. Gather everyone immediately and announce the crimes of Roland and Tang Sheng." Lark then suggested, "This way, public opinion will suppress those who are in cahoots with Roland and Tang Sheng. In addition, Roland and Tang Sheng are already dead, so they should not cause trouble." Charlotte smiled and said, "I didn't expect Teacher Lark to think so far ahead. This is a good idea. We can't kill all the branded warriors. Give them a chance, and they will make the right choice." "What about you?" Lark asked. Charlotte said, "I'm a little tired. I plan to go back and take a bath, and then have a good sleep. Go do what you need to do. I can go back by myself." Lark still wanted to say something, but Charlotte had already turned around and left. There was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. Chapter 1480. An ear-piercing alarm sounded in the Nuwa and the honeycomb at the same time. Professor Zhang's voice came from Yang Sheng's system. "Everyone, gather at the Hope Square in 10 minutes. A major incident has happened in the Academy. The moment to decide our fate has come." Such words were repeated continuously. The crew members in the spaceship, the students and scholars living in the honeycomb cave all walked out of their homes and gathered at the bottom of the honeycomb. The bottom of the honeycomb was the Hope Square that Professor Jiang had mentioned. Almost everyone had gone to the honeycomb. There were only a few crew members who could not leave their posts on the Nuwa spaceship. Those staff members were all on the bridge. There was no one else at all. Of course, Charlotte would not miss this opportunity. After most of the crew members had gone to the honeycomb, he once again entered stealth mode and came to the huge round cabin door. This time, he did not come empty-handed. He brought with him the passcode that he had dug out from Roland's brain. However, he could not bring Roland's body over to be scanned. Therefore, it took him about 5 minutes to open the round metal cabin door. The round metal cabin door closed automatically. Charlotte walked toward the crystal coffin in the center. The closer he got to the crystal coffin, the stronger the resonance of the cosmic imprint in his soul. When he walked to the side of the crystal coffin and looked at the crystal wreckage in the crystal coffin, he even had a strange feeling that his cosmic imprint and soul were about to fly out of his body and pounce toward the crystal wreckage in the crystal coffin. What's going on? Why do I feel like my soul is out of my body? Charlotte's heart was filled with horror. I evolved naturally. There are no side effects to my evolution. Moreover, The existence of a soul is obviously the result of a wrong ultimate evolution. Itashtab and Cassie Lewis are living examples. But why do I suddenly feel like I have to abandon my body and exist as a soul? However, although the feeling of his soul leaving his body was very strong, his soul did not leave his body in the end. The cosmic imprint in the depths of his soul was like an imprisonment seal. At this moment, it played a huge role. It imprisoned his soul and did not let his soul leave his body. After calming down a little, Charlotte pushed open the lid of the crystal coffin and reached out to grab the torso of the crystal wreckage. Suddenly, the universe imprint shook violently. After that, a mysterious energy surged into his body like a tide and rushed towards his brain. The mysterious power was incomparably powerful, and Charlotte's body endured a huge impact. He felt that his blood vessels, his nerves, his bones, and even every cell in his body were about to be torn apart by that kind of energy. If the mysterious energy was compared to a sudden flood after a rainstorm, then Charlotte's body was like a river that was already full of water. Boom! Unable to bear it, Charlotte's vision turned black and he fainted. His body also fell to the ground. Coincidentally, this fall had separated his hand from the crystal wreckage, cutting off the channel through which the mysterious energy flowed into his body. This was a very fortunate thing. If this kind of forceful injection continued for a few more seconds, not only would it not kill him, but would also cause irreparable damage to his body. People who had fainted had no sense of time. After an unknown amount of time, Charlotte gradually regained consciousness. But it was only a little bit of consciousness. He could not wake up, nor could he command his body to get up from the ground. In a daze, his world of consciousness had a little light. At first, the light was only a line, but it grew brighter and brighter, until it was so intense that it burned his eyes. He closed his eyes in pain, but the intense light did not disappear because he closed his eyes. It was still so intense, as if it wanted to burn his eyes blind. In this pain of wanting to wake up, but not being able to, wanted to close his eyes, but being burned by the white light, a face suddenly appeared in the white light. The appearance of this face seemed to have consumed a lot of energy, and the white light suddenly dimmed a lot. Charlotte's eyes felt a little better. He opened his eyes and looked at the face in the white light. It was a very blurry face. He could not see its eyes, nose, or mouth clearly. At this time, a voice suddenly came from the face. "You're here." The voice was hoarse and low, full of magic. This was the first time Xia Lei had heard of it, but strangely, he had a very familiar feeling about it. It was as if the person talking to him was someone he was very familiar with, a friend he had known for many years. The voice gave him a very familiar feeling. "Who are you?" Charlotte asked. His voice was also filled with surprise and speculation. "I'm Holy Thunder." The voice came from the white light. It seemed very far away, but also seemed to be right beside him. At that moment, when the name Holy Thunder entered his ears, Charlotte felt like he was struck by lightning. His whole body and even his thoughts froze. He had many guesses about the owner of the crystal, but none of them were Holy Thunder. The reason was simple. Holy Thunder was a human, and humans could not have crystal-like bones. "You are very surprised." Holy Thunder's voice. Charlotte finally came back to his senses, but he was still very surprised. You're already dead. How can you still talk to me?" "Yes, I'm already dead. When I died, I sealed a strand of my soul in my bones, waiting for you to awaken me. Just now, you woke me up, and that is why I can see you and talk to you. Don't be surprised. You will soon be able to use this ability." Charlotte suddenly understood. On Earth, every time he came into contact with the crystal skull, he would feel a sense of familiarity and intimacy. That strange feeling was because the crystal skull contained a wisp of Holy Thunder's remnant soul. However, at that time, he was too weak to awaken the remnant of Holy Thunder's soul, and he was unable to communicate with it. As the universe brand matured and appeared, he now had the ability to do so. Tonight, when he touched Holy Thunder's bones, he had awakened the remnant of Holy Thunder's soul. "I know why you are here." Holy Thunder's voice. "I am here to find that clue." Xiaolei held back the excitement and surprise in his heart as he said, I know your mission is the same as mine. Tell me, where's the missing fragment of the world box? Did Queen Sabbath tell you? There's a clue in the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Holy Thunder's voice. Charlotte nodded. That was the agreement between me and it. The clue it mentioned was the wisp of soul that I sealed in my bones. However, before I tell you the clue, I want to tell you my story. It is very important to you. It will give you inspiration. Holy Thunder's voice. Go ahead. Charlotte's emotions calmed down a little. I and all the humans in this world were brought to this world by the origin. It can sow a civilization on a planet like a seed. I was born on a spaceship. I did not have a father, and my mother told me that she did not know how I came to be. I grew up on the spaceship, and there were many books and videos on the ship, all of which were related to a planet called Earth. The teachers in school always taught us about Earth, and we all thought that we had escaped from Earth, that the small planet had been destroyed in the apocalypse. However, I later found out that the spaceship had actually been flying in the universe for more than 300 years, and more than 10 generations of humans were born and died on the spaceship. Everything we came into contact with was prepared for us by the origin. We were just a species that the origin copied from Earth and came to this planet to complete its mission. So, rather than saying that we are immigrants from Earth, it is better to say that we are seeds. Charlotte's heart was filled with emotion. No wonder he could not find out the exact time that humans migrated to this planet. Everything about humans in this world was copied from Earth by the origin. It was a different time and space, a different world. Just think about it. How could humans migrate from Earth to the Hope Star? The copied seeds had failed, so the origin decided to do it on Earth, leaving him as the original seed to replace the failed Holy Thunder and continue to complete its mission. The origin gave me extraordinary intelligence, and I grew up in that spaceship. I saw many people grow old and die, and I was greatly touched and inspired. I started to study the human body and the soul. Later on, I researched artificial evolution, or AE. I started the journey of advanced evolution, and I became the smartest and strongest person on that spaceship. I naturally became the leader of that spaceship, and after coming to this world, I became the leader of the entire human race. I built human civilization while searching for that fragment. Everything went smoothly, and human civilization flourished. At that rate, I believed that it would not be long before we conquered the entire Hope Star. On top of that mission, I also found an important clue. However, just as I was about to succeed, the Blue Moon people appeared. You already know what happened next, so I won't say much. However, there's one thing I want to tell you, and that is that you and I are not the only ones who have shouldered this mission. Before us, there were the Ahemus, but they failed. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat again. He knew about the Ahemus Stone Search Project, but before they could find the stone, the Blue Moon people invaded. The Holy Thunder was about to succeed, but the Blue Moon people came again, and they failed again. Even he, who was on Earth, was facing the invasion of the Blue Moon people. It was the end of the world. Behind all of this, there really was a giant hand in the sky. Who was the owner of that giant hand that covered the sky? It was unimaginable. However, I don't know who was the Ahemus who shouldered this mission. The Ahemus failed, so I came. I failed, so you came. I hope that you can succeed. If you fail, there will be another you to continue this mission. The civilization that I built was destroyed, and the people were plunged into misery and suffering. If you fail, your civilization will also be destroyed, and the people will also be plunged into misery and suffering. I don't know if this is the punishment of the origin or the giant hand's punishment. I also don't know how long this cycle will last. I just don't want to see you suffer like I did. Believe me, watching billions of people die because of your own failure and being slaughtered like livestock, that kind of feeling, you don't want to experience it. If he failed, he would not only die, but billions of people would also be buried with him. Charlotte's heart was extremely heavy. He took a deep breath. I understand what you mean. Thank you for your story. Now tell me, what is that clue? Chapter 1481. Holy Thunder's voice came from the white light. There's an ancient city in the Great Maha Desert. It wasn't built by humans, nor was it built by the Ahimis or the Blue Moon people. It's huge. Even an ordinary house is bigger than the building we built. Charlotte was excited. A city of giants? Is the fragment in that ancient city? I don't know. When I found the ancient city, the Blue Moon people invaded before I could go there. Now that I think about it, it wasn't a coincidence. My investigation triggered something. That's why I died. After a pause, Holy Thunder's voice said, "Also, it's not a city of giants. It's a city of God." A city of God? Charlotte's excitement turned into shock. He was an atheist. Even though he had godlike abilities, he did not believe in the existence of God. Holy Thunder's voice said, "I'm also an atheist." "Then why do you say it's a city of God? Have you seen a god?" "No." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Your words are contradictory." "That depends on how you look at it," Holy Thunder said. "We humans created many gods in the era when technology was lacking. Jesus Christ, the three pure ones, the Buddha, but those gods were just beliefs. They were spiritual powers and did not exist. The gods I'm talking about are existences that can compete with the laws of the universe. They control the secrets of the universe. They have the ability to create or destroy a civilization. Not only can they exist in this plane of the universe, but they can also exist in another plane of the universe. They can pass through the restrictions of laws and enter any space in the universe freely. Compete with the laws of the universe? I don't believe it. I didn't believe it either. But when you evolve to my level, or even surpass me, you'll believe it. Think about it from another angle. The origin that brought us to this world, it must have a creator, right? The world box that we're looking for, it has a creator, right? Charlotte was shocked. God. Most people did not believe in the existence of God. However, there was always a hand that created all things, and it wasn't an exaggeration to describe the existence that controlled that power as a God. From the perspective of faith, God would be Christ Jesus, the three pure ones, and the Buddha Lord. But from the perspective of the universe and all things in the universe, he was the power that created all things, and the existence that controlled that power was God. In fact, in the eyes of ordinary people, how could he not be a god? The simplest standard was that when one's power reached a certain level and surpassed all living beings, that person would be a god. I don't know when and who built that ancient city. I've collected all the information about it, and I've sorted out a clue from that information. The clue is that there is a spatial rift in the ancient city. That's how I understand it. You can also think of it as a spatial black hole. As for the fragment we're looking for, it's very likely that it's in that spatial rift. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. This was the most accurate information he had obtained about the fragment so far. He said excitedly, "I want to go take a look." "No, you can't go." "Why?" "With your current abilities, there will only be one outcome for you if you go, and that is death. The shackles there are much stronger than anything you have ever encountered. Have you seen my bones? You have to evolve to at least surpass me before you can go in. Only then can you enter that spatial rift and complete our mission," Saint Thunder's voice said. Charlotte could not see Saint Thunder's bones, but he understood what Saint Thunder was saying. To evolve all the bones in one's body into something like crystal, what kind of concept was that? It looked like he had to continue drinking milk, a huge amount of milk. That year, I found that ancient city, but before I could even go there, the Blue Moon people came. My experience, my failure, should be a warning to you. You should avoid making the same mistakes that I did. You have to become stronger as soon as possible. Before you go to that ancient city, you'd better solve the problem of the Blue Moon people. Charlotte suddenly thought of something. "Before I talk to you, the Heavenly Jewel Academy received a report that the king of the Blue Moon people is about to be revived. Does this have anything to do with our meeting this time?" "I'm not sure. I'm just a remnant spirit. I can communicate with you, but I can't sense the outside world. After this meeting, I will also disappear, and I won't be able to help you with anything. Everything will depend on you. Also, I have a wish. If you can complete that mission and solve all the problems, can you bring my bones to Earth to be buried? My head is there. It's too lonely. That year, when I decided to go to the ancient city, I actually wanted to go to Earth to take a look." "Wait," Charlotte suddenly interrupted him. You want to go to Earth to take a look? How can you do that? It's not complicated. If you evolve to my level, you can ask the Queen of Rest for help. Don't forget, she has one of her kind in the origin. She and her kind can establish a connection across space and time. Sending a part of your soul over should not be a problem. Two energy trees appeared in Charlotte's mind. One was the Queen of Rest, and the other was the energy tree in the origin. Then, many familiar and friendly faces appeared. Liang Xiao, Shinta Tianin, Tang Yin, Long Bing, Jiang Rui, Fan Fan, and his children, Liang Jieyu, Xiao Long, Xiao Jianghe, Xiao Fan, Xiao Yang, Xiao Yu Xiao Tavong, and Giovanna, Stella, Rosa, Teresa, Akiko Tsukino. He couldn't wait to go back and see his women and children. Your head. All the faces were suddenly interrupted by worry. Charlotte said worriedly, "When I left Earth, there were two blue moon people on Earth. One was called Isitabu, and the other was called Keja Ruiz. One of them wanted to get the secret of the box, and the other wanted to turn Earth into a hunting ground to revive the blue moon people's civilization. Are all these things happening now?" The voice of the Holy Thunder said, "We are in different space and time, on different planes. We are moving on different orbits. Your world is the same. What should happen will happen. The blue moon in the sky, the blue moon people on this planet, they are my opponents. Yours is not here. So, you can't go to the ancient city now. Otherwise, if you touch that big hand, everything you're worried about will happen. I was like this back then. You can't make the same mistake again." Xiaolei longed to appear in that ancient city right now and put an end to all of this. However, when he thought about the failure of the Holy Thunder, it was equivalent to the failure of his predecessor. He had to suppress the strong desire to end everything, not for anything else, but because he could not fail. If he failed, doomsday would really come to Earth. The human civilization on Earth, his wife, his children, his confidants, these were actually his life gate. The thing that controlled his life gate was not only the big hand that covered the sky, but also origin. He was like a lone hero in a movie whose family was kidnapped to carry out a dangerous mission. On one hand, he had to fight with the enemy, but on the other hand, he had to worry about his family being killed. His battlefield was not just here. This world was just a secondary battlefield for him. His main battlefield was Earth. After understanding his situation, he was filled with anger and hatred toward origin and the big hand that covered the sky. King of the Blue Moon people, Shun Yu is his one. This is the last thing I want to tell you. Charlotte nodded. This conversation had solved a lot of the confusion in his heart. He was very grateful to the Holy Thunder and wanted to talk more. However, no matter what kind of conversation it was, there was always an end. Those who should leave had to leave, and those who wanted to stay could not stay. Shin Yu is as one. He is stronger than me. I and many other powerful beings on this planet fought against him. We all died, but in exchange, he was heavily injured. I am not surprised that he woke up. This world is about to start a new round of bloodshed. Quickly become stronger and help me kill Shin Yu and complete that mission. I will. Don't forget what you promised me. A smile appeared on Charlotte's face. My home is in the capital. There are many trees and flowers in my backyard. I think you will like that place. I look forward to that day. Finally, I also have a question for you. What do you want to know? Your evolution has not gone wrong so far. I am very curious. How did you do it? You have to know that when I was at your stage, my evolution already went wrong. My body has no warmth, and I hate all food. Then do you eat people? No. I used AE to start my path of evolution. Then, I refined the spiritual energy in the spirit ores to improve my evolution. I became stronger and stronger, but the evolution mistake became bigger and bigger. The reason I lost to Shun Yu was actually because of my own problems. Then what about you? Holy Thunder's voice was filled with curiosity. Charlotte hesitated for a moment before saying, "Drinking milk?" Drinking milk." Charlotte was a little embarrassed. "Huh?" Holy Thunder laughed. "Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? Every species has its own evolution system. Women are the milk that nurtures life. Such a simple, ordinary thing is the correct answer. I understand. Goodbye, Charlotte." "Goodbye," Holy thunder! Charlotte's heart was filled with sadness. The face in the white light suddenly became clear. The eyes, nose, and mouth were all revealed. Charlotte was stunned. The face in the white light was his own face. He looked at the face in the white light, as if he was looking at a mirror. The face in the white light disappeared. The white light also disappeared. Charlotte's consciousness walked out of the darkness. The scenery in front of him had not changed at all. It was still in that hemispherical space. Holy Thunder's skeleton lay quietly in the crystal coffin, no longer making any sound. Holy Thunder was a legend when he was alive. He created the human civilization in this world. He was dead. He was so quiet. Charlotte looked at the skeleton in the crystal coffin and said softly, "Don't worry. I will complete that mission and then bring you to my backyard to bury. I will tell my children that this is their uncle." After a pause, he smiled. "Yes, biological uncle." After saying this, he closed the lid of the crystal coffin and turned to leave. He had already obtained the information and the clue he wanted. He no longer needed to take his skeleton away. He wanted to find the rest of the skeleton and bring it to Earth to be buried when he left this world. Chapter 1482. The square was filled with people. The Academy's students, scholars, as well as the Academy's logistics and armed personnel were all gathered in the square. There were about 10,000 people. Bai Ling, Professor Jiang, Kong Long, and the committee members stood in the center of the square to speak. There was no podium. Professor Jiang announced what had happened, and the situation went out of control. The ones who made the most noise were the branded warriors of the Branded Legion. They had never obeyed the management of the committee, and they did not even put the committee in their eyes. They only listened to Tang Sheng and Roland's orders, and Tang Sheng and Roland gave them preferential treatment that the committee could not give them. They could sleep with the Academy's female students whenever they wanted, and the resources they received were much higher than the Academy's scholars and teaching staff. Now, that Professor Jiang had announced that Dean Roland and Tang Sheng were dead, it meant that the benefits that Dean Roland and Tang Sheng had given them were gone. How could they be willing to give up? "Professor Jiang, you said that Dean Roland and our Legion commander were killed by you because they betrayed the Academy. Where is your evidence?" A branded warrior asked loudly. His voice was even louder than Professor Jiang's, who was speaking through a loudspeaker. "Of course we have evidence, but the technicians are still sorting it out. We will announce the evidence later." "Announce later? I'm afraid they are creating evidence." "Dean Roland is a person of virtue and prestige, and our Legion commander is just and selfless. How did they become traitors overnight?" Another branded warrior questioned in a rough voice. He did not put Professor Jiang and the committee members in his eyes. "Isn't that obvious?" A burly branded warrior said. "It must be them who killed Dean Roland and our Legion commander, then casually gave him a crime, and now they want to take over our Legion. Damn it, I don't agree. Arrest them and bring them back to the Legion for interrogation." "Yes, arrest them and interrogate them. We must give Dean Roland and our Legion commander an explanation." First it was questioning, then it was opposition, and then it was confrontation. This was not a trick, but a group of people who could not bear to give up the benefits in their hands to resist the committee, students, and scholars. With Professor Jiang as the leader, it was the largest group in the entire Heavenly Jewel Master Academy, but it was also the weakest group. Even 100 students would not be able to defeat a single branded warrior, let alone an entire army of branded warriors. The committee wanted to take over the Branded Legion, to bring the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy back to the right path. But how could the Branded Legion give up the benefits in their hands so easily? In fact, the voices of doubt and opposition just now were instigated by a few vice captains. To the vice captains, the death of President Roland and Tang Sheng was also an opportunity for them to take over. As soon as the sounds of arrest and interrogation were heard, the branded warriors rushed towards Professor Jiang, Bai Ling, and the committee members. "What do you want?" The sudden change caught Bai Ling by surprise. She angrily said, "You are the branded warriors who protect the Academy. Everything you have comes from the Academy. Are you going to make the Academy your enemy?" "Shut up. Lampard laughed coldly. You cannot represent the Academy, and your committee cannot represent the Academy. Without the protection of the Branded Legion, this Academy would not even exist. We are the masters of this Academy. You better understand this clearly. Lampard was one of the vice-captains, and he was the most active one. Bastard. Shameless. Professor Jiang said angrily. I finally understand. You don't care how Roland and Tang Sheng died, and you don't care if they betrayed the Academy. They are dead, and you people see the chance to replace them? Lampard said coldly. Shouldn't the Branded Legion be in charge of the Academy? You people should be researching academic problems, not managing the Academy. You don't have that ability. If you control the Academy, it'll be finished sooner or later. Yes, we cannot let the committee control the Academy. Get those committee members to scram back to teaching. The Branded Legion should be managed by themselves, not some committee. The Branded Legion erupted in an uproar. Dozens of branded warriors walked to the center of the square and surrounded the committee members. You are not branded warriors at all, Bai Ling said angrily. You are thieves. You are the same as Roland and Tang Sheng. For your own interests, you can do anything bad. Arrest her and make her shut up, Lampard Delvey ordered. A branded warrior grabbed Bai Ling's arm. Let go of me, let go of me. Bai Ling struggled, but her struggles were useless. Capture them all and bring them to the training base for interrogation. Lampard then gave a second order. Dozens of branded warriors moved quickly and captured all the committee members in the blink of an eye. A smile appeared on Lampard's face. Roland and Tang Sheng were dead. The one who benefited the most from their deaths was obviously him, and he was also the happiest one. Let go of Teacher Bai Ling. A male student rushed forward and opened his arms to block the path of the branded warrior who wanted to take Bai Ling away. The branded warrior glanced at Lampard, seemingly seeking Lampard's instructions. Lampard did not give any instructions as he strode toward the male student. What are you trying to do? The male student who was blocking the way asked nervously. Lampard Delvey suddenly punched the male student in the chest. Bang! Gotcha! Under Lampard's punch, the male student's chest caved in. The huge impact sent his entire body flying. After flying for more than 10 meters, he fell heavily to the ground. After the male student fell to the ground, his mouth and nose were bleeding and he could not get up again. Lampard Delvey had actually killed him with a single punch. No, Bai Ling screamed and tears flowed out of her eyes. The male student who had been beaten to death was her student. His results and character were excellent, and she liked him very much. Who else dares to oppose? Lampard roared. Who else? No one dared to stand up. Not everyone had the courage to challenge power and face death. The students, scholars, and teaching staff of the academy were very angry, but they were very clear about the terror of the branded warriors. Even if all of them rushed forward, they would not be a match for the branded army. This kind of anger from being suppressed by power was like a flame burning quietly in their hearts. However, it was only burning, and they did not dare to vent it out. No one objects. Very good. Take them away, Lampard said, and his face revealed a smile again. A familiar face suddenly walked out from the crowd and entered Lampard Delvey's line of sight. His smile froze in a second. It was Charlotte's face. Charlotte strode toward Lampard. Lampard endured the nervousness in his heart and braced himself to say, Mr. Xia, you are an honored guest of our academy. I hope you can calm down and not participate in our academy's internal affairs. Charlotte stopped in front of Lampard. He glanced at Lampard indifferently, then shifted his gaze to Professor Jiang. Professor Jiang, did you not announce my identity? Your identity? Professor Jiang, who was being held down by a branded warrior, had a confused expression. It seems that you have forgotten. I remember you said that you would hire me as the honorary dean of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, Charlotte said. Professor Jiang was stunned on the spot. He was very clear that he had never said such a thing. Bai Ling suddenly understood Charlotte's intention. She said, That's right. Teacher, you said that our academy would hire Mr. Xia as the honorary dean. I was there at that time, and so were many committee members. We voted to approve it. Yes, yes, yes. I agree to. Mr. Xia is our Academy's honorary dean. The committee members voiced their agreement. Professor Jiang finally understood. He also said, Mr. Xia, you are our Academy's honorary dean. You have the right to participate in our Academy's internal affairs. Charlotte's gaze returned to Lampard. Did you hear that? I am now the honorary dean of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. I have the right to handle the Academy's internal affairs. Out of the corner of his eyes, Lampard Delvey glanced at the large number of branded warriors around him. Suddenly, he gained courage and sneered. Who gave you the title of honorary dean? Our branded legion will not recognize your honorary dean status. Do you think you have the right just because you say you have the right? Now, I ask you to leave. You are not welcome here. Charlotte sighed. This is human nature. Greed. If you die, you will definitely die because of this word. Are you threatening me? Lampard said coldly. I know you are very strong, but can you defeat all of us? I advise you not to do anything stupid. Get out before I change my mind. Do you know how Roland and Tang Sheng died? Charlotte's voice turned cold. Lampard immediately reacted. He subconsciously took a step back. So it was you who killed Dean Roland and our Legion commander. After taking a step back, he shouted, Kill him! Take revenge for Dean Roland and Legion commander. A large group of branded warriors swarmed forward. Charlotte moved, instantly appearing in front of Lampard. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed the top of Lampard Delvey's head. Diant! Charlotte's right hand suddenly squeezed, and with a crisp sound, Lampard's head actually exploded under his hand. In that instant, fragments of skulls, brain juices, and blood burst out from his hands in all directions, splashing onto the bodies of the branded warriors who were charging at him like water splashed out. All of the branded warriors froze. Everything that had just happened was like a minus 100 Celsius freezing wave, instantly freezing them. Lampard Delvey was definitely one of the strongest branded warriors, but Xiaolei had only stretched out his hand and crushed Lampard Delvey's head while he was still alive. With such absolute suppression, who would dare to charge forward? Who else has any objections? Charlotte's gaze swept across all of the branded warriors. His voice was calm, but it was filled with majesty and didn't allow for any resistance. No one dared to have any objections. Very good. A smile appeared on Charlotte's face. Then I shall be your honorary dean. I don't need any authority to manage the academy. However, if anyone dares to interfere with the committee taking over the academy, or if you guys dare to go against the orders of the academy committee, then I'm sorry. Roland, Tang Sheng, and this Lampard will be your examples. The dozens of branded warriors, as well as the even more preparatory warriors, were all silent. Charlotte's gaze shifted to Bai Ling. You over there, if you continue to grab Teacher Bai Ling's hand, I will tear your hands off from your shoulders. As soon as he finished speaking, the branded warrior let go of his hand, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Bai Ling suddenly ran towards Charlotte. Charlotte seemed to have realized something, and he couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. Oh my God, it's happening again. Before he could finish his sentence, Bai Ling's slender arms wrapped around his waist. Her soft and voluptuous body, her enchanting fragrance, as well as her pitiful teary eyes, drowned him in an instant. Since ancient times, beauties had always loved heroes. Bai Ling wasn't the first woman on his hero's path, and she wouldn't be the last. Chapter 1483. The blood in the laboratory disappeared under the washing of the water. Roland and Tang Sheng's corpses were also thrown into the dark pit of corpses. There was no funeral, no mourning ceremony, not even a tombstone. Some people were destined to be spurned and forgotten. Roland and Tang Sheng were obviously such people. Some people were destined to be accompanied by beauties, and Charlotte was that kind of person. Mr. Xia, this road is so hard to walk. How much longer do we have to walk? I can't walk anymore. On the hillside leading to the top of the volcano, Bai Ling frowned with a pained expression on her face. Charlotte raised his head to look at the top of the volcano. About a kilometer. We still have to walk a kilometer? Oh my God, I'm going to die on this road. Lark sat on a rock and did not want to leave. Charlotte looked at the pair of high heels on her feet. He had 700 or 800 words in his heart, but he couldn't say a single one. She knew that he was going to climb the mountain, yet she still followed him. If she wanted to follow him, then so be it. Why did she have to wear a skirt and high heels? Wasn't this just asking for trouble? My feet are hurting so much. Aren't you going to comfort me? Bai Ling frowned even more. Her black, crystal-like eyes also had a hint of coquettishness. Her ex-boyfriend, Tang Sheng, had probably never enjoyed such a coquettish attitude before. Then do you want me to take a look for you? Charlotte braced himself and asked. Of course. You're a man. It's only right for you to take care of a woman. A smile appeared on Bai Ling's lips. The rising eternal sun shone down with golden sunlight. The two dimples on her cheeks looked especially bright and cute in the golden morning light. Charlotte walked to her side, squatted down at her feet, placed her right foot on his thigh, and helped her take off her shoes. He only needed to use his X-ray vision to see the condition of her feet, but he didn't dare to. He was worried that after he used his X-ray vision on her feet, he wouldn't be able to resist looking at her thighs. After that, he wouldn't be able to resist looking at her thighs. That wouldn't be good. A white sock was removed from Bai Ling's foot. Her foot was white and her skin was smooth, delicate, and slightly transparent. One could vaguely see the red blood vessels under her skin. It looked like a work of art carved out of white jade. It was truly a jade foot. Every finger on her foot was so small and cute, and every fingernail had been carefully trimmed. The shape and length were just right, and the color was also pink, giving people a very delicate feeling. Seeing her jade feet, Charlotte secretly felt an itch in his heart, and a trace of heat emerged from his lower abdomen. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. No wonder Tang Sheng wanted to give her a chance before he died and wanted to take her into his harem. Not to mention her beautiful face and the title of the most beautiful woman in the academy. Just her pair of jade feet could make men's hearts move and let their imaginations run wild. Her heel had been scratched by the half-high heel, and the red and tender flesh was exposed. Her snow-white and translucent calves and snow-white and translucent jade feet were especially eye-catching with her broken skin and red and tender flesh. Coupled with her painful expression at the moment, people couldn't help but want to feel sorry for her and pity her. Does it hurt? Charlotte asked with concern. It hurts. Bai Ling's voice was soft. Charlotte smiled and said, Then why are you still climbing the mountain in high heels? Bai Ling curled her lips slightly. I thought it wouldn't be far. Who knew that you would climb to the top of the mountain? Charlotte said, I have to climb to the top of the mountain to send a signal to my spaceship and ask it to come over. You. Bai Ling's tone was a little more nervous and worried. Are you going to leave? Xiao Lei smiled and said, In the end, I will have to leave. However, I do not dare to leave the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy now. If I leave, those fellows might start causing trouble again. I will help you rebuild the Branded Legion, and when everything is settled down, I will leave. I want you to stay, Bai Ling said. This sentence could be understood from several angles. Charlotte smiled and didn't answer. It hurts. Charlotte accidentally touched her wound, and Bai Ling immediately moaned. Her jade foot that was on Charlotte's thigh also moved back. As she moved back, but suddenly slipped off the rock, and her slender waist leaned back. She was about to fall. Charlotte suddenly grabbed her calf, and his other hand reached out to hold her slender waist. Originally, it should have been settled, but Bai Ling was too nervous. Just as Charlotte grabbed her calf and held her waist, she cried out in surprise and suddenly reached out to grab Charlotte's collar. Her whole body fell towards Charlotte, and she fell into Charlotte's arms. Her pert buttocks also sat on Charlotte's thigh, and her soft and firm breasts were also pressed against Charlotte's chest. If it were a man with weak strength, this action of hers would definitely make the two of them fall to the ground and roll a few times on the steep hillside. However, the squatting Charlotte was like a pine tree rooted on the hillside, not moving at all. However, the pine tree's root was pressed against the middle of Bai Ling's soft buttocks, and it was very hard. You? Veiling suddenly felt the presence of something, and her pretty face suddenly turned red. Charlotte was embarrassed, excited, nervous, and embarrassed. Half of his face also turned red. Don't move, I'll carry you. You should actually fall, Veiling said. Charlotte, ? Your strength is as strong as God's. Just rub my feet like this, Veiling said. I know you can do it. I don't want to sit on a rock. It's cold and hard. Charlotte's thighs were also very hard, but she selectively ignored it. Charlotte's current posture was similar to a horse stance. He had never done such a thing before, rubbing a woman's feet and treating her wounds in such a posture. He was in a bit of a dilemma, a bit embarrassed and a bit upset. He actually wanted to refuse, but the words that came out of his mouth changed. Well, okay, just don't move. His old habit came back again. He would never refuse a beautiful woman, especially when it came to this kind of thing. Veiling adjusted her posture on Charlotte's thighs, and she sat sideways. Her perky buttocks rubbed against Charlotte's thighs. She seemed to feel something stirring. Her pretty face, which was already half red, was now completely red. She didn't dare look at Charlotte's eyes. She bit her lips gently with her silver teeth, enduring the embarrassment that made her want to find a hole to hide in. Even so, she bravely lifted her injured foot so that Charlotte could rub it, and so that Charlotte could see it. However, she seemed to have thought things too simply. She couldn't stretch her leg in front of Charlotte in such a position to let him see and rub it. Well, I'll sit down. You can sit on my calf. Charlotte sat on the ground. His buttocks were thick and firm. After sitting down, he straightened his legs to make it easier for Veiling to sit down. Veiling's position changed again, from Charlotte's thighs to Charlotte's calf. She and Charlotte were sitting face to face again. Charlotte smiled. That's enough. Veiling avoided Charlotte's gaze. She bit her lips gently with her silver teeth, then slowly lifted her right foot, wanting to extend it in Charlotte's direction. The white knee-length dress slowly slid down her thighs, revealing a large area of snow-white delicate skin. Soon, when her injured foot stopped on Charlotte's lower abdomen, a pink scenery was revealed from under her dress. It was a pure cotton underwear. The shape of the plump and seductive dent could clearly be seen. Charlotte didn't look sideways as he focused on rubbing her ankle. He even spat some saliva on his finger, then applied it to the broken skin to disinfect it. He was very professional. At that moment, he looked like a gentleman who was not perturbed. His gentlemanly aura was shining brightly, but it was already protruding and deeply betraying him. My foot climbed such a long mountain road. It must smell bad, right? Veiling broke the awkward silence between the two of them. Charlotte moved his nose to Veiling's foot and gently sniffed it. Then he smiled and said, "It smells good. You have a natural fragrance on your body. I smelled it the first time I saw you. I've always been curious as to why your body smells so good. I don't know either. I had it when I was born. Let me tell you a secret. My nickname is Xiang Xiang. It's a nickname my mother gave me. Xiang Xiang." Charlotte grinned. "This name really suits you." "There's a more fragrant place," Veiling suddenly said. "There's a more fragrant place? Where?" Charlotte looked very curious. Veiling bit her lip. "I'm not telling you. Guess it yourself." How was he supposed to guess? "Huh." Charlotte laughed. "Do you have a cleavage? Are you an idiot?" "What?" "Nothing." Veiling's eyes were full of disappointment. Charlotte continued to rub her foot, but he smiled bitterly in his heart. "I'm not a pig. Am I that stupid? If you want to keep me, the easiest way is to make me your man. But I can't stay. Sorry, I can only pretend to be a pig." He actually knew what Veiling was thinking, including the fact that Veiling was secretly calling him a pig. However, he could only pretend that he didn't know. His heart was also full of emotions. A man like Tang Sheng had been dating her for half a year, but he didn't even get to kiss her on the lips. He didn't even see her smile often. But now, she had magnified it to such a degree. Not only did she let him see her jade foot, but she also let him rub it. She was such a gentle and elegant woman, but she used this method to make him stay and pursue him. He didn't know how much she had struggled in her heart and how much courage she had mustered. This was actually the reason why he didn't reject her. In the face of such a beauty, how could he simply reject her directly? How could he not be touched? I'm much better. Let's go. Bailing seemed to have given up. Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. This torture had finally come to an end. Bailing climbed down from Charlotte's body, but she didn't wear shoes. Carry me on your back. With your great strength, you should be fine, right? Charlotte was speechless. Chapter 1484. There was originally no road on the mountain, but there was a road where Charlotte walked with Bailing on his back. Bailing's lotus-like arms and ivory-long legs were like four vines tightly wrapping around him, not leaving a single gap for him to escape. However, he liked this kind of tight binding, especially the feeling on his back and buttocks. Bailing's plump breasts were pressed against his back, rubbing up and down as he walked. Her long legs were tightly clamped around his waist, and she was unreservedly pressed against his back. That place gave him the feeling before a summer rainstorm, humid and stuffy. Under all kinds of stimulation, the burning sensation in Charlotte's lower abdomen became more and more intense. Sometimes he even had the urge to put her down, press her on the ground, and do something ruthlessly. Mr. Xia, are you and Commander Kanto really not lovers? Bailing broke the silence between the two and asked Charlotte this question. No, we're just very good friends. Didn't I tell you? Can't I confirm it again? This sentence could also be understood from several angles. Charlotte did not dare to answer. It had not been easy for him to persevere until now, and he had been gritting his teeth to persevere. He could not give up because of such a question, right? Therefore, he chose to remain silent and pretend that he did not hear it. He was now like an Australian ostrich, burying its head in the sand when it encountered danger or trouble. It thought that it would be safe by doing so, but was it really safe? After hesitating for a long time, Bailing gritted her teeth and said, I want to date you. No, I want to be with you. Charlotte bit the bullet and refused. We've only known each other for a few days. Isn't this too fast? Is time a problem? When I first saw you, I felt that you were very special. There was a very special attraction to you, and I had some feelings for you when I first saw you. I'm a pervert. You should be afraid of me and avoid me, Charlotte said. That's your disguise. I can see that you're not that kind of person. You saved me, my teacher, the committee members, and the entire academy. You're a hero. I've been waiting for my hero to appear, and then you really appeared. I don't want you to go. I want to be with you. In the end, she still confessed, so sincerely, so bravely and resolutely. Charlotte's heart was moved, and he was even a little shaken. He didn't know how to refuse. As a man who would never refuse a woman, or rather, he had the refusal defect syndrome. When faced with a woman like Bailing and such a sincere confession of love, it would be too much for him to refuse. Bailing blushed. Am I being too hasty? Stuttering seems to be contagious. Yes, a little. Then, did I scare you? That's not it. I'll give you some time to think about it. Okay? Okay. The two of them fell into silence again. Bailing's heart was full of worries. She had already done what she could. If her hero still couldn't be moved by this, she didn't know what else to do. A woman like her would never take the initiative to take off her pants and let Charlotte do something. What she did just now, and what she did now, was already her limit. Just like that, they arrived at the crater in the stuffy and hot weather. Charlotte put Bailing down and squatted on the ground. Lift your foot. I'll help you put on your shoes. Okay. Bailing responded softly. She held on to Charlotte's shoulder with one hand and lifted her right foot that wasn't wearing shoes or socks. The snow-white foot seemed to have a faint glow in the golden morning sun. It was crystal clear and had a lingering fragrance. He didn't know if he had seen a ghost or something, but Charlotte couldn't help but touch her foot. The creamy feeling made his heart itch, and he was very impulsive. Bailing's reaction was very sensitive when the sensitive sole of her foot was touched. She couldn't help but moan, and her cheeks were flushed. Along the way, she used her body to tease her hero. She gave him a stimulus, and Xiaolei would give her a stimulus in return. The power of stimulation was mutual, and she couldn't escape from this category, even though she was a scientist. After all the stimulation along the way, her body had already built up enough desire. The amount of hormones in her body had reached the critical point, and she would explode with just a touch. Yet, Charlotte touched her foot at this time. Wasn't he playing with fireworks beside her, even though he knew that she had a barrel of gunpowder? Your foot smells good. After touching it a few times, Charlotte restrained himself. He praised Bailing's jade foot while picking up a sock to put it on for her. He also raised his eyes slightly, sneaking a peek at Bailing's reaction. But as he lifted his head, he caught a glimpse of her pink underwear. It was tightly wrapped around a bulge, mature and plump. A dent was clearly visible, and it gave him a strong visual impact. Therefore, his eyes were suddenly glued to it, and he couldn't move it. "I like you," Bailing suddenly said. "Huh?" Charlotte was stunned for a moment, and his eyes finally moved up. He saw a flushed face. "I love you." Bailing's voice was louder and more determined. "Oh no, my hand is dirty." Charlotte suddenly realized something, and his whole body froze. At that moment, Bailing suddenly pounced on Charlotte, and in an instant, she pushed Charlotte, who was holding the sock, to the ground. The ground was hard volcanic rock, and it was full of potholes, but she couldn't care less. Anyway, she wasn't the one below. She pushed Charlotte to the ground, and she kissed Charlotte's lips. Her kiss was clumsy, but it was full of passion and courage. "Bailing, you're cold." Charlotte originally wanted to say, "Bailing, calm down," but just as he opened his mouth, before he could finish his sentence, a lilac tongue went into his mouth. At that moment, it was soft and creamy, and the fragrance filled his mouth. It felt like chewing a sweet lotus seed in his mouth. It was very special and very tasty. A woman who was born with a unique fragrance. Of course, her tongue was also fragrant, and her kiss was naturally different from others. Charlotte's tongue couldn't help but start singing after a second. Without a doubt, the kiss with Bailing was the most wonderful kiss he had ever kissed. The fragrance made him unable to control himself. How could a person with rejection disorder, who couldn't even instinctively reject a confession, have the strength to reject what was happening? To hell with the rejection. A few seconds ago, Bailing was the one who initiated the attack, and a few seconds later, Charlotte's hands became dishonest. When his hands were dishonest, Bailing's hands followed suit. Both of their hands explored each other's bodies, searching for something. In the end, they decided to play a game of stripping. Therefore, in the chaotic entanglement, both of their clothes fell to the ground one by one. Bailing was originally on top, but in the end, she returned to the position that a woman should be. There was not a single part of her skin that wasn't red, and her body was trembling slightly. She was so nervous that she could die. The ground under her was hard and full of potholes, but she couldn't feel it. She anxiously and nervously waited for the most important moment of her life to arrive. She closed her eyes, but there was still a slit in her eyelids. She saw her hero and her little hero pressing down on her. At that moment, she cheered in her heart, "My hero." However, at this happy and tense moment, the light above her head suddenly dimmed. Charlotte, who was already knocking on the door of happiness, suddenly stopped and looked up at the sky. A giant spaceship descended from the sky, and the white clouds crumbled under its weight. Bailing opened her eyes. She was lying on her back, and she saw the giant spaceship. She was stunned. "Is that your spaceship?" Charlotte suddenly climbed up from Bailing's body. "Put on your clothes. That's not my spaceship. I haven't sent a signal yet." "Then that's the Blue Moon People's spaceship." Charlotte grabbed the small items on the ground and quickly put them on. That's mine." It was Bailing's voice. Xiaolei looked down and was speechless on the spot. Because of his panic, he had worn the pink underwear. When he really wanted to take it off, he saw the white Bailing grab his underwear and put it on. He didn't care too much and quickly put on the blue tank armor, as well as the jacket. When he was done, Bailing was also done. After all, she was only wearing a dress this time, and wearing a dress did not take much time. The spaceship in the sky had already descended to an altitude of about 5,000 meters, and a huge shadow covered the whole island. It was originally a sunny day, but in the blink of an eye, it looked like it was going to turn dark. Charlotte also saw clearly that it was not a transport spaceship, but a battleship. Dozens of battleships flew out of the battleship and quickly swooped down toward the island. We've been discovered. This mountain is bare. We can't escape. Bailing was panicking, and her eyes were filled with fear. Charlotte suddenly squatted in front of her. Get on my back. Quick. Bailing's brain was filled with fear, and she almost instinctively climbed onto Charlotte's back. Charlotte carried her on his back and ran down the hill. The universal mark trembled, and the power of the mark was released from his body like mercury. It enveloped him and Bailing, distorting and absorbing light and shielding their body's aura. Almost instantly, they entered a state of invisibility. However, Bailing did not know what kind of state she was in. When she saw the Blue Moon People's battleships flying close, she was so scared that she started crying. Sob, sob. These D*MN people. Why did they appear at this time? I regret it so much. Why didn't you appear earlier? I'm still a... Can't a virgin go to heaven? Her mind was clearly in a mess. Don't be afraid, don't cry. They can't see you. Charlotte bit the bullet and comforted her. They can't see me? Did you forget what happened in the lab? Did you see me before the fire sprinkler? No. Bailing suddenly understood something and said excitedly, You have an invisibility device. Am I right? You took off my clothes just now. Did you see any equipment? No, but... Bailing suddenly understood something. Oh my God. You have an invisibility ability. Don't say anything. They're coming. Charlotte suddenly slowed down his pace. Whoosh. A Blue Moon People's battleship whizzed over their heads. It was shaped like a shuttle, and it was different from the aircraft he encountered in the wasteland of Area 51. It was bigger, equipped with energy missiles and energy cannons, and its firepower was more than 10 times stronger. Dozens of battleships flew around the island as if they were scouting something. Charlotte was also extremely nervous. Chapter 1485. He could not help but be nervous. Dozens of Blue Moon fighter jets had enough firepower to destroy an entire city. If he was discovered at this time, he could escape, but he had no way to protect Bailing. She would die here. He was really worried that Bailing would break down under the pressure and do something abnormal, because if that happened, he would be powerless to reverse the situation. However, his worries seemed to be unnecessary. Bailing was indeed very nervous, but not to the extent of breaking down. Her only reaction was to hug him tightly, not leaving a single gap. A Blue Moon fighter jet hovered above the two of them, and Xiaolei also stopped in his tracks vigilantly. It was not a problem for him to maintain this state of invisibility, but if the other party was very close, it was impossible for him to not leave traces on the ground while carrying a person on his back. If the other party was careful enough, it was entirely possible for them to discover the traces he left behind on the ground, and that would be very dangerous. After stopping, Charlotte raised his head to observe the Blue Moon People's fighter jet above him. He was surprised to find that the fighter was only a few dozen meters above the ground, but he could barely hear the sound of the engine, nor could he feel any heat being released. The fighter jet was very quiet. However, he knew very well that the Blue Moon Empire's technology was still the same. More than 3,000 years had passed, and the Blue Moon Empire's technology had not been improved much. At this moment, Lark suddenly put her mouth on his ear, and her voice was softer than a mosquito's buzz. Have we been discovered? No, Charlotte said. If you feel nervous, you can talk to me. Don't worry, your voice can't be heard. Bailing heaved a sigh of relief, but this sigh went straight into Charlotte's ears. Charlotte shuddered. I said you can talk, but you can't blow into my ear. I won't be able to stand it. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Bailing whispered into Charlotte's ear. She did not realize that the way he spoke to Charlotte was no different from kissing Charlotte's ear. In a tense environment, people's nerves would become especially sensitive. Charlotte shamefully discovered that Xiaolei had stood up again. It was so hungry and thirsty that it wanted nothing more than to pounce on Lark and bite it. He quickly diverted his attention. Only Lanyu would come here. Has this ever happened before? Bai Ling said, It happened. I remember it happened once when I was young. I think I was 10 years old at that time, when my mother was still alive. That year, the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy had moved to an underground cave in the 17th district. Not long after, the Blue Moon Empire's battleships arrived. However, they were only scouting the area and did not enter the underground cave. That time, we were lucky enough to escape. There must have been an investigation. What was the result of your investigation? Charlotte asked. Our academy has its own intelligence network. They launched a series of investigations, which took 3 months. The result was that the Blue Moon Empire was unable to scout the area where the battleship was. After a pause, Bai Ling put her lips on Charlotte's ear again. Let me tell you a secret. Sheng Lei's corpse is on the battleship. His corpse contains a mysterious energy that can interfere with the Blue Moon Empire's detection of us. This is also the reason why the Academy has been able to survive until now. However, the Academy cannot stay in one place for too long. If a place is shielded for a long time, the Blue Moon Empire will definitely be suspicious. This secret concerns the survival of the Academy. Don't tell anyone, Charlotte said. How can you tell me such an important secret so casually? You're not an outsider. My title as the honorary principal is fake. You know it. Bai Ling suddenly opened her mouth and gently bit Xia Lei's ear with her jade-white teeth. Io, Charlotte cried out. Why did you bite me? I'm not talking about your title as the honorary principal. I'm talking about your other identity. What identity? My lover. Charlotte was speechless. Don't try to deny it. You're already in there. What? That? What do you mean? Just a little. Charlotte was speechless. His reputation had been ruined because of that little bit. However, coming from the mouth of a woman like Bai Ling, who is extremely knowledgeable and self-restrained, it was really alluring. Charlotte suddenly realized that all his worries were unnecessary. Bai Ling had found enough security from him. Although there were dozens of Blue Moon Empire fighter jets circling above her, she still had the mood to confirm their relationship. She even took the initiative to flirt with him. He could never understand a woman's world. At that moment, a small transport ship flew out of the battleship and quickly landed on the crater of the volcano. Charlotte stopped thinking about other things and focused all his attention on the transport ship. His eyes quickly caught a glimpse of the Blue Moon Empire's words on the side of the transport ship. The content was 50 crew, 5 fighter jets. Charlotte's heart sank. They're going to land. We have to get everyone to hide and get ready for battle. Bai Ling became nervous again. They should have found out long ago. I am afraid that even the power has been turned off. What should we do? She finally remembered their situation. Charlotte thought for a moment. We can't go back. It will be easy for them to find the entrance to the volcano. Let's go to the forest on the island and hide. Okay, Bai Ling answered obediently. The fighter jets hovering above them finally left and flew towards the top of the mountain to protect the transport ship as it landed. Charlotte finally got the chance to leave. He did not dare to stay any longer and sprinted towards the forest at the foot of the mountain. Along the way, he chose to step on the larger rocks with a relatively flat surface to minimize the noise and traces left behind. During the intense running, he held onto one of Bai Ling's buttocks with all his strength. His 10 fingers were almost embedded into her soft and bouncy breasts. What bothered him even more was Bai Ling's plump breasts. As she ran, her soft and firm breasts kept hitting his back. It felt like she was hitting his back with jelly. Charlotte felt his whole body was full of energy. He even felt like he could run 100 kilometers with by laying on his back. The transport ship of the Blue Moon Empire landed. The hatch opened, and the Blue Moon Empire soldiers in heavy armor walked out. Then, 5 heavy combat mechs walked out of the cabin with heavy steps. 50 infantrymen and 5 heavy fighter jets gathered at the top of the mountain. In addition to the dozens of fighter jets circling in the sky and the huge battleships that blocked out the sun, the scene was very oppressive. This was the Holy Thunder's opponent. In fact, this was also Charlotte's opponent, and this was only the tip of the iceberg. After the formation was completed, a Blue Moon infantryman threw an energy grenade into the mouth of the volcano. Kaboom! A loud explosion sounded in the volcano. The shockwave from the explosion even spread to Charlotte's feet. He could feel it clearly. It was just an energy grenade, but it had the power of a cannonball. If he wanted to fight the Blue Moon Empire head-on, his weapon had to be upgraded. After the energy grenade exploded, Charlotte finally rushed past the barren hillside and arrived at the forest at the foot of the mountain. However, even with the trees blocking the vision of the Blue Moon infantrymen and fighter jets, he did not dare to deactivate his invisible state. This was because there were still dozens of Blue Moon fighter jets and the huge battleship in the sky. Did they discover the Nuwa? The energy grenade's explosion made Bai Ling even more nervous. Charlotte said, "There is no entrance to the volcano. If they threw the grenade without seeing the entrance, it must be a test. I hope the branded warriors are smart enough not to come out and fight it this time. Otherwise, it will be bad." Bai Ling's gaze moved to the huge man-made rock on the hillside. At this time, she was really worried that the branded warriors would rush out and fight. Charlotte seemed to feel her worry. He gently held her butt and said, "Don't worry. Even if the worst happens, you still have me. I will protect you and the academy." His comfort made Bai Ling feel a little better. Her voice was very gentle. "Put me down. You must be exhausted. We should not be discovered in the forest." However, Charlotte said, "The range of my invisible ability is limited, and we need to be together. If we separate, the heat detectors on the fighter jets will likely discover you. But you can't keep carrying me like this. It's too tiring." "It's okay. I can do it." Bai Ling thought for a moment and bit her lip. "Why don't we lie down? That way, you can maintain your invisible state and get some rest." The brain of a knowledgeable woman was really useful. Only then did Xiaolei put Bai Ling down. With both feet on the ground, Bai Ling carefully hugged Charlotte's neck and squeezed from his back to Charlotte's front. After that, she let out a long sigh of relief. Blushing, she said, "What level of union are you referring to?" Charlotte suddenly became nervous. "No, not that kind of union. We just need to stick together." Bai Ling rolled her eyes at Charlotte. "Do you think I'm that kind of loose woman? How can I still think of that kind of thing at a time like this? I just don't know how to do it." "Well, you've already made it very clear. So am I on top or below?" Charlotte was speechless. Just as the men and women in the forest were embarrassed by their intimate positions, the infantry of the Blue Moon people split into 5 small teams. Each team was equipped with a combat mech, and they began a carpet search of the mountain from different directions. Just as Bailing was lying on the soft grass with Xia lay on top of Bailing, 2 women walked down from the spaceship. If Charlotte didn't look at Bai Ling's nervous and shy face and looked at the top of the mountain, he might be able to see the faces of these 2 women. He wouldn't be unfamiliar with them because one of them was Lon Sidi, who had tried to kill him before, and the other was the traitor of humanity, Lulele. This interracial lesbian couple actually came as well. "Darling, you can see the entire island from the expedition with one glance. There isn't even a hut on this island. How can there be an academy?" Lulele asked. She was wearing a tight, red leather armor. Her body was as hot as fire, and her body was as hot as fire. Lon Sidi looked at the dense forest at the foot of the mountain. Her eyes were sharp. "Baby, don't you think it's strange? The Blue Moon orbits the eternal sun, and every place is under its surveillance. However, there's an interference field here, and the Blue Moon can't get high-definition aerial images. This has happened 3 times. I'm in charge of intelligence now, and I have to figure out what's going on with this island." Lulele hugged Lon Sidi's slender waist. "Darling, you're a genius in intelligence and espionage. You should have been the head of intelligence for the Empire a long time ago. They're only using you now. Is there a special situation? You naughty girl. If you want to know the secret, just tell me." Lon Sidi grabbed Lulele's butt, and her long fingers dug into Lulele's fat. "Darling, you know I'm very curious," Lulele said. "That's because our divine King Uru-E is about to awaken, and a new round of cleansing is about to begin. The humans of this world will be wiped out, and we'll move to the next planet to start a new era," Lon Sidi said. Lulele was slightly stunned, and suddenly raised her head to kiss Lon Sidi's lips. Chapter 1486. A team of Blue Moon soldiers came down from the top of the mountain, searching along the way. This was the route that Charlotte had used to escape with Bai Ling, and it was also the route that Charlotte and Bai Ling would take to return to the academy. The gigantic man-made rock was on this route. At the foot of the mountain, in the dense forest, Xiaolei raised his head and looked in the direction of the mountainside. As he watched the infantry search team gradually approach the man-made rock, his heart almost jumped out of his throat. He could control his and Bai Ling's situation very well, but he could not control the situation of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Now, the Heavenly Jewel Academy was like a car hanging on the edge of a cliff, about to fall into the abyss at any time. As for him, he could only watch helplessly, unable to do anything. He had the ability to destroy the infantry search team, but he did not have the ability to destroy the huge aerial battleship in the sky. Once he took action, it would be equivalent to telling the Blue Moon people that the Heavenly Jewel Academy was on this island. He had absolute confidence that the aerial battleship in the sky had the ability to raise the entire island to the ground. The huge pressure of survival was like a mountain on his shoulders, and the feeling of passivity and helplessness made him feel a little uncomfortable. He thought to himself, when can I surpass the Holy Thunder and face the Blue Moon people's king god Yurui? Only after I take care of the Blue Moon people in this world can I go to the great Maha Desert with peace of mind to find that ancient city. Bai Ling could not see the situation on the mountainside, but she could see the worry on Charlotte's face. She said softly, "What's wrong? What did you see?" "Nothing, don't worry." Charlotte did not want her to worry, so he told a white lie. Bai Ling said, "Don't lie to me. I can see the worry in your eyes. That rock is a weakness of the academy. If it is discovered, the academy's location will be exposed. Is the Blue Moon people's search team approaching the rock?" Bai Ling was a smart woman, and it was not so easy to fool her. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "There is a search team heading in the direction of the rock. I am worried that they have some sort of sound wave detection device that can detect the space inside the rock from the echo. Since they're here to search, they'll definitely bring along detection equipment. If there's no other choice, I'll lure the Blue Moon people away. You escape into the academy and prepare the ship to take off," Charlotte said. "No." Bai Ling suddenly reached out and hugged Charlotte's waist tightly. Her eyes were filled with tears. "You will die. I haven't even had the chance to give you the best thing I have. I don't want you to die. I won't allow you to die." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Even if I don't do anything, the moment the Blue Moon people's search team discovers the existence of the academy, the warships in the sky might use their cannons to bombard this island. At that time, we'll all be finished. Are you really going? If there's no other choice, that's the only way I can think of." Charlotte could actually leave on his own. This was the safest and most in line with his interests, but he could not do such a thing. In order to protect the Heavenly Jewel Academy, he had to take this risk. He had no other choice. Bai Ling fell silent. Her tears flowed silently. Parting in life and death was the greatest sorrow in life. The Blue Moon people's search team stopped beside a large man-made rock. A Blue Moon soldier walked towards it. He seemed to have discovered something. Murphy's Law seemed to be applicable in this world, which was that events often developed in the worst possible direction. The more you hoped for something to happen, the more likely it would happen. "We don't have much time. I'm going to lure them away." Charlotte propped himself up from Bai Ling's body. "After I leave, cover yourself with leaves. When I lure the search team away, immediately run to the entrance. After entering the academy, don't go home. Go straight to the Nuwa ship. Got it?" Bai Ling nodded. However, just as Charlotte was about to leave, she suddenly hooked her arms around Charlotte's neck. "Promise me, come back alive." "Don't worry. I'll definitely come back," Charlotte said. I want to ask you a question." "What question?" "Tell me." Bai Ling looked straight at Charlotte. "Do you love me?" Charlotte was slightly stunned. How could she still have the mood to ask such a question at a time like this? But this was women. Love was often more important than life or even the world. This kind of question might not mean much to a man, but it was very important to a woman. Did he love her? He really hadn't thought about this question. He didn't know whether he loved her or not, but he was certain that he didn't. At this critical moment, it could be a life and death parting. Looking at the woman who was looking at him with tears and longing in her eyes, Charlotte didn't hesitate. He nodded. I love you. It was just one sentence, 3 words. If this was a life and death parting, then he didn't want her to have any regrets. Why couldn't he say it? Bai Ling moaned. She raised her chin and kissed Charlotte's lips with her tender cherry lips. 3 seconds later, Charlotte climbed up from Bai Ling's body and sprinted toward the search team on the mountainside as fast as he could. He was in invisible mode, so he didn't have to worry about sprinting. Wherever he passed, dust would rise and rocks would fall, making quite a bit of noise. But he didn't care. He was going to divert the search team's attention, so the louder the noise, the better. In the forest at the foot of the mountain, Bai Ling crawled to the pile of dead leaves and dug a hole in the ground like a little puppy. Then, she buried herself in the dead leaves. She hid in the pile of dead leaves. There were tears in the corner of her eyes, but there was a hint of a happy smile at the corner of her mouth. My hero, you must come back alive. On the mountainside, the Blue Moon infantryman stopped in front of the man-made rock. He was holding a detector in his hand. When he got close to the man-made rock, the detector suddenly gave off a beeping warning. There seems to be something wrong with this rock, the Blue Moon infantryman said. Another Blue Moon infantryman came over and looked at the detector. Then, he said, it seems to be empty. There's something wrong with this place. At that moment, another Blue Moon infantryman suddenly said, what's going on? He pointed down the slope. There seems to be something moving over there, but I can't see what it is. Is it the wind? There can't be such a strange wind. I don't feel any strong wind here, but the rocks are rolling down there. It's coming for us. Fire! Fire! Boom! Boom! Other than the Blue Moon infantryman who didn't shoot, the rest of the Blue Moon infantrymen, including the heavy mecha, fired in the direction of the sound. The Blue Moon infantrymen were all using standard energy rifles, which were much more powerful than energy pistols. Every energy bullet exploded like a grenade. In an instant, the place where the sound came from was blown up into a big and small crater. Stop! The officer of the search team shouted. The gunshots stopped. The dust slowly settled, revealing a large crater and a large number of shattered rocks. But other than that, there was nothing in the place. Are you sure you saw something? The officer of the search team asked. I'm sure I saw something, but the first Blue Moon infantryman said, I'm not sure now. Don't worry about it. If this gets out, we'll become a joke in the army. The officer of the search team then gave another order. Continue with the detection. The signalman, contact the supervisor immediately. Tell her to come over and take a look. Tell her that we found something. Just as he finished speaking, a sound suddenly came from the side. Everyone's eyes moved in that direction, and then they saw a rock the size of a human head rolling down. One of the Blue Moon infantrymen fired in that direction. Boom! The place where the rock rolled down was instantly blasted into a crater half the size of a person. But other than the crater and the broken rocks, there was nothing else. At that moment, a voice came from the communicator on the officer's body. What happened? Enemies? Or beasts? It was Lon Citi's voice. She sounded excited and nervous. The officer of the search team braced himself and said, reporting to the supervisor, we didn't find any enemies or beasts. Then why did you shoot? Lon Citi's voice was filled with anger. I'm sorry, we suspected that there was a space behind the rock, and we wanted to blow it up. The officer of the search team reacted quickly. I'll come over to take a look. Don't shoot randomly. That might alert the target we're looking for, Lon Citi said. Yes, sir. The officer of the search team stood at attention. Suddenly, another sound came from the hillside. It was very close now. One of the Blue Moon infantrymen raised the energy rifle in his hand subconsciously, but before he could pull the trigger, the officer of the search team slapped his armor and helmet. Bastard, I was scolded just now, and you still dare to shoot? The Blue Moon infantryman braced himself and said, Sir, I think someone is approaching us. Invisible people? Even we don't have that kind of technology. How can humans have that kind of technology? The officer of the search team did not believe it at all. Whoosh! A rock suddenly floated up from the ground and flew toward the officer of the search team. Although it was just a rock, the force of the impact made the rock fly toward the officer like a cannonball, and it hit the officer's forehead with a loud bang. The rock exploded when it hit the armor, and the officer of the search team fell backward from the impact. He fell to the ground with a loud thud. The few Blue Moon infantrymen stared at the officer on the ground with their mouths agape. There was a dent in the helmet that had been hit by the rock. Blue blood was flowing out from the crater. This was the latest model of combat armor that the Blue Moon people had. Even the heavy machine guns of the humans could not damage it, but it had been smashed by a rock, and it had even injured their officer. Boom, boom, boom. The officer was already dead, and no one gave any orders. However, that did not stop the Blue Moon infantrymen from responding correctly. They, in the heavy combat armor, all aimed their guns in the direction of the flying rock, and they opened fire without hesitation. A deafening explosion rang out, and the whole hillside trembled. The fighter jets that were circling around the island also surrounded them. The whole hillside was surrounded, and not a single drop of water could escape. Another search team rushed over from the other side of the hillside. Lon Sidi and Lul Lele were among them. Lon Sidi scolded as she ran. "Those idiots. If I don't find anything and just shoot randomly, I will lock them all up." "What is that?" a soldier suddenly exclaimed. "Is that a cat?" Chapter 1487. It wasn't a cat. It was Sam Poo. Sam Poo suddenly appeared from behind a pile of rocks and charged toward the search team. Boom! Boom! The Blue Moon soldiers and the heavy mechs fired at Sam Poo. But Sam Poo was extremely fast, and he kept changing his position, dodging left and right. The bullets from the energy rifles and energy machine guns chased after him and exploded, but they always missed him by a hair's breadth. In the blink of an eye, Sam Poo was in front of the search team. He kicked the ground with all four limbs, and his whole body was like a spear that flew with light beams. He instantly pierced through the chest of a Blue Moon soldier. Puff! Blue blood burst out. The Blue Moon infantryman who had been stabbed by Samper suddenly flew up from the ground. Only his neck and head were left of his upper body, and only his legs were left of his lower body. The torso in the middle had turned into countless pieces of flesh and goo. Sam Poo didn't stop after his attack. He flew to the side of the hill and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Saleh saw all of this. He was surprised by Sean Poo's appearance. Sam Poo should be on the Huaxia. How did he suddenly come to this island? He subconsciously looked at the sky, but he didn't see the Huaxia. Saleh thought to himself, could it be that Sean Poo secretly flew back? When I was still in the academy, the Blue Moon's warship is here. It knows my situation, so it wants to distract the search team? That seemed to be the most reasonable explanation. The Blue Moon soldiers wouldn't let it go after a soldier was killed for no reason. The officer of the search team reported the attack to Lon Sidi. Soon, the fighter jets in the sky began to track Sam Poo. The other search teams also received orders and came from different directions to search on the ground. After Sam Poo killed a Blue Moon soldier, he went into the dense forest. It wouldn't be easy to find him. Stay here and wait for the director. I'll take some people to chase after the cat, the commander of the search team said. Yes, sir. The Blue Moon soldier with the detector stood at attention. The officer of the search team led the rest of the soldiers and the heavy mech to search in the direction that Sam Poo escaped. He had his own plans. Lon Sidi would definitely fly into a rage if she came over. He left one of his subordinates there to suffer the fury of the supervisor while he went to catch the ferocious beast to make up for his mistake. As for what was behind the rock, he didn't care. Just as he led his men away from the hillside, Saleh came out from his hiding place and quietly approached the Blue Moon soldier who was holding the detector. The Blue Moon soldier with the detector walked to the side of the artificial rock. He scanned it again, and the detector beeped again. He looked at the detection results on the detector and then moved closer to the rock to observe and touch it carefully. Then he muttered to himself, "This rock is not a real rock. It is." At this moment, he suddenly felt something pat on his shoulder. He felt someone's hand and was shocked. He quickly turned around, but he didn't see anything. A second later, his head was suddenly hit by a heavy object. Under the violent shock, his vision went black, and he fell to the ground with a loud bang. After knocking out the Blue Moon Soldier with a punch, Charlotte did not show himself. He quickly erased the data on the detector and took off the Blue Moon Soldier's helmet. His plan had been very successful so far, but a discovery he made just now surprised him. He could capture the brain waves of the Blue Moon Soldier, but the brain waves seemed to be encrypted. He couldn't decipher them, and he couldn't control the brain of the Blue Moon Soldier. When he approached the Blue Moon Soldier, he had already come up with a plan. He would erase the detection data on the detector and hypnotize the Blue Moon Soldier so that he could go to another place to search for another rock. Actually, when he had approached the Blue Moon Soldiers, he had already released his branding power in an attempt to control their brains. However, he had failed in his attempt just now. The brain of the Blue Moon Soldier was like a computer infected with a virus. He couldn't control it. This was the first time he tried to hypnotize a Blue Moon Soldier, but this was the result. What's wrong with the brain of the Blue Moon Soldier? I wonder if I can implant a hypnosis command after knocking them out? Charlotte thought to himself. Then he placed his hand on the head of the Blue Moon Soldier that he had knocked out. Through direct contact, he invaded the brain of the Blue Moon Soldier. This time, he obtained some information, but it was all jumbled up. His brain tried to decipher the information and reproduce it, but the images and pictures that appeared in his brain were all wrong, and there were voices that were extremely jumbled up. For example, when the image of a person was reproduced, the person's brain would have 5 to 6 heads, dozens of arms, and the face would be blurry. Some of the faces were covered in hair, and some even had eggs. Another example was images. The images that appeared in his brain were extremely colorful, and all the colors mixed together to form an extremely jumbled image. It felt like a palette. As for the voices, they were also extremely jumbled up. The sounds of machines, humans, and animals were mixed together, and it was impossible to distinguish them. Damn it, why is this happening? Charlotte gave up, feeling depressed. Plans often couldn't keep up with changes. If he could hypnotize this Blue Moon Soldier, then he would have a 70% chance of helping the Heavenly Jewel Academy survive this crisis. However, he couldn't hypnotize the Blue Moon Soldier. All his previous plans and efforts were in vain. Depression, disappointment, and helplessness. All these terrible feelings surged up in his head. Charlotte shook his head hard, trying to clear away these negative emotions. Absolute control of his body allowed him to control his emotions to be at the pinnacle. He calmed down almost instantly. As soon as he calmed down, he suddenly understood. I can hypnotize humans because I am also a human. I have the same brain as the people I hypnotized before. I can read the minds of animals, the blue dragons, blue titans, and rock spirits, but I can't hypnotize them. I can't use my ability to hypnotize an ant or a fish, even though ants and fish are also alive and have their own thoughts. Isotab and Kasha Ruiz are different from me. They are pure energy bodies. They can make clothes and wear human bodies like clothes. That's why they can hypnotize humans. I haven't reached their level yet, and I might never be able to do so. His path of evolution was not to abandon his body, so he would never become a pure energy body. As such, it was possible that he would never be able to achieve this ability. This problem wasn't complicated at all. It was like using a car key to open a door. How could different keys open different doors? No ability was omnipotent, including all the abilities derived from his branding power. Even Isotab and Kasha Ruiz, who had evolved into pure energy bodies, weren't perfect or invincible. They were afraid of the Holy Thunder's corpse, the World Box, and the contamination. During the battle in Incheon, Korea, Charlotte used his little thunder to force his way into Isotab's body. The attack that a normal woman could endure and even enjoy had heavily injured her. This failure was actually not a bad thing. After figuring this out, Xiaolei had a more comprehensive understanding of the power of the brand and the abilities derived from the power of the brand, which would be helpful for his future path. Since I can't hypnotize you, I'll just have to kill you. Charlotte quickly made his decision. He grabbed the Blue Moon soldier's neck and twisted it. Crack! The Blue Moon soldier's head tilted to the side. He didn't feel anything until he died. Charlotte picked up the Blue Moon soldier's body and turned it invisible. He quickly moved to the other side of the hill. When he reached a cliff, he threw the body and the detector down the cliff. His gaze shifted to the transport ship at the top of the volcano, and his brain instantly came up with a new plan of action. He sprinted toward the transport ship. At the same time, on the other side of the hill, Lon Seedy suddenly stopped. She looked at the GPS device in her hand with a confused expression. What's going on? That guy's position suddenly dropped to the foot of the hill. Lil Lele said, he was on the other side of the hill just now. At this speed, unless he flew down. Lon Seedy frowned. Could it be that beast? The commander of the search party said that they encountered a beast that looked like a cat. It had wings. The beast attacked them and killed one of them. A cat with wings. Lou Lele suddenly remembered something, and his expression became serious. My dear, I've heard of that beast. If their description is correct, that beast is probably the strongest of the 4 beasts in the Forest of Rest. It's the Rock Spirit. Rock Spirit, we need to leave this place, Lil Lele said. Lil Lele said, our search team and Mecca are no match for it at all. If there really is a rock spirit here, we can't stay here. At that moment, a scream came from the communicator. There was also a panic cry for help. We're under attack. It's that cat. The combat mech in the sky suddenly opened fire. Energy cannons rained down bullets on the forest. Lon Seedy and Lou Lele looked over and saw the combat mech firing. It was obviously providing fire support to the search party on the ground. A violent explosion resounded in the mountain. Fragments of trees and rocks danced in the air. However, a few seconds later, a blue figure suddenly flew out from the exploding forest. Fast. It was several times faster than the speed of sound. The moment the blue figure appeared in the sky, it collided with the fighter jet that was firing. Boom! The combat mech exploded in flames and thick smoke, and then it fell into the forest. The blue figure stopped in the air. It was a blue cat with wings. Dozens of combat mechs in the sky surrounded it. The blue cat flew toward the battleship in the sky. Its speed was like a supersonic missile fired from below. Lon Seedy suddenly realized something. She could no longer stay calm. She held the communicator and shouted, "Retreat! Quick!" Then she said to Lil Lele, that guy's gone to the expedition. If we let it go, it will cause big trouble. We have to stop it. A bitter smile appeared on Lou Lele's face. What the hell? There's actually a rock spirit in this place. But I don't think we can do anything about it. They were in the atmosphere of the Hope Star. The expedition and the combat mech could not fly in light beams. But the fat cat was flying so fast and small. What could they do if it fought guerrilla warfare? More importantly, dealing with a rock spirit wasn't the mission of the expedition. If they were to suffer heavy losses from a rock spirit, the newly appointed Lon Seedy wouldn't be able to report to the higher-ups. Retreat seemed to be the most cost-effective option. Lon Seedy sighed. Let's go. Let's leave this place. The mission is over. Chapter 1488. On the side of the hill, Charlotte stopped in his tracks. Not only did he see Sean Pooh flying towards the battleship like a missile, but he also saw Lon Seedy and Lil Lele. Both of them were familiar to him, and he even had the urge to kill Lon Seedy and Lil Lele. However, after using the lip-reading skill to decipher the conversation between Lon Seedy and Lil Lele, he dispelled the thought. Lon Seedy was actually the commander of this search operation, and that was very surprising to him. Lon Seedy's order to retreat and end the search prematurely was also an important reason why he gave up on the idea of killing Lon Seedy and Lil Lele. Killing Lon Seedy might be a temporary relief, and it could also help Longer get revenge for being lied to for so many years. However, if Lon Seedy died here, the battleship in the sky might really use its cannons to raze the island to the ground. On one hand, it was a temporary relief, but on the other hand, It was the survival of the entire Heavenly Jewel Academy. He had to think carefully and make the right choice. As such, not only did he give up on the idea of killing Lon Sidi and Lelele, but he also gave up on his plan to infiltrate the battleship. Shanpu flew a few thousand meters up in the sky, and the expedition activated its energy shield upon Lon Sidi's order. However, before Shanpu even hit the energy shield, he made a turn and flew back to the surface of the endless sea, then flew close to the surface and back to the island. His actions seemed to be sending a signal to the Blue Moon people. This island is my territory, and if you dare to invade my territory, I will kill you. The Blue Moon people's infantry search team boarded the battleship and left the island. Dozens of Blue Moon people's fighter aircrafts escorted the battleship to the expedition. Charlotte ran towards the forest where Bai Ling was hiding. Before he reached the forest, he saw Bai Ling climbing in his direction. She had thrown away her high heels, and it was hard for her to climb barefooted. Her socks had long been torn by the rocks and sand, and some blood was seeping out of them. It was a heart-wrenching sight. However, she still gritted her teeth and climbed up. She fell and got up again, looking very strong. Charlotte, who had remained invisible, quickly moved to her side, grabbed her waist, and lifted her up. The moment she was picked up, Bailing was startled. However, when Charlotte's branding power wrapped around her, she saw Charlotte. She was so nervous that she felt like she was about to die. Her tense nerves suddenly relaxed. Her favorite hero hugged her in his arms. His chest was so broad and strong, like a harbor that could bring her peace and quiet. All the positive and negative emotions were released at this moment. Tears flowed from her eyes, but her face was full of smiles. You came back alive. I knew you wouldn't leave me behind. I knew. It's okay, it's okay. Charlotte comforted her. Don't be afraid. It's all over. If it weren't for Shanpu's help, this matter wouldn't have been settled so easily. It was likely to develop in a worse direction. However, Shanpu was hiding somewhere. He couldn't find him at all. Bailing didn't know about Shanpu's existence. She looked at the aerospace warship that was still hovering in the sky and asked worriedly, "Will the Blue Moon people come again?" Charlotte also looked. "I don't know, but we have to return to the academy as soon as possible and let everyone board the Nuwa. We can't stay here any longer. We have to leave. We need time to retreat, and there's a bigger problem." "What problem?" Charlotte quickly ran to the man-made rock that hid the entrance. Bailing said, "We haven't found a suitable place to house the entire academy and hide the Nuwa. In fact, we've only just moved here, and we haven't even started looking for a place to stay." Charlotte thought for a moment. "No matter where we go, it's safer than this place. Why don't we go to the Forest of Rest?" "The Forest of Rest? How can we do that?" "It's a forbidden area for humans. Let me take care of this. The most important thing now is to leave this place." In just a few words, Charlotte had already reached the bottom of the man-made rock. Bailing raised her hand and pointed to a place on the man-made rock. "Carry me there. There's an emergency access device there. It's an independent system. Even if the academy loses power, it will still operate. I have the password." Xiaolei carried Bailing in his arms. He actually felt like laughing. She had been so strong just now, climbing without shoes. But now, she didn't even want to get off the ground and let him carry her. However, he was more than happy to carry her. But was plump and supple, and it felt really good. Bailing reached out to open a camouflaged watch and then entered the password on the keypad. A small hole suddenly appeared on the rock. It was only big enough for a person to crawl through. The passage wasn't completely open. However, before Charlotte could carry Bailing into the hole, a blue figure suddenly flashed and flew toward the open passage. Charlotte hurriedly carried Bailing to the side. The imprint of a universe in the depths of his soul vibrated, and an energy field with a radius of a few hundred meters was formed instantly. This energy field carried his information. "Shanpu, go in. Don't hurt anyone." Shanpu, who was flying toward the entrance of the passage, paused for a moment. After that, his body flew into the passage like a cannonball. "Just now, what was that blue thing?" Bailing caught a glimpse of an afterimage. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak properly. Charlotte didn't answer. He flashed into the passage. The open passage closed again, and the inside of the passage was indeed dark. The sudden appearance of the Blue Moon people caused the Academy to take emergency measures and cut off the power. However, there was a faintly glowing thing in the passage. Bailing saw it as soon as she entered. She couldn't help but scream, "Ah, a cat!" The faintly glowing thing was Sean Pooh. He heard Bailing scream and then saw Charlotte and Bailing, who had removed their invisibility state. He was also surprised because whether it was outside the entrance or in the passage, he didn't see Charlotte, nor could he feel Charlotte's presence. Charlotte's invisibility ability had scared him, so he didn't even greet him. Charlotte sent a message. "Sean Pooh, how did you get here?" "I flew here," Sean Pooh replied. Sean Pooh sent a message. That idiot Fong detected the Blue Moon People's spaceship, and then the Blue Moon People's spaceship landed on that island. I was worried that the Blue Moon People would threaten you, so I came to help. "Thank you. You really helped me a lot," Charlotte said. "A cat. Did you see it?" Bailing was very nervous. She had never seen such a big cat, and it had wings. Sean Pooh sent a message. "Boss, can you make this idiot woman shut up? She's my friend. Don't scare her." Charlotte sent a message and then said to Bailing, "Don't be afraid. It's my friend. It helped to lead the Blue Moon People's search team away." "Ah." Bailing's mouth opened wide. "It's called Sean Pooh. It's the rock spirit of the Forest of Rest," Charlotte said. "Rock spirit? You have a rock spirit friend. I'll tell you later. We have to go back to the Academy." Charlotte carried her and walked. When he passed by Sean Pooh, he sent a message. "Come with me. Remember, don't hurt anyone." Sean Pooh followed Charlotte. "Okay, as long as this idiot woman keeps her mouth shut. If one stayed with Fong for too long, one would be infected and become an idiot. Where are Fong and Blue Jill now?" Charlotte sent a message. "They're on another island, ready to pick you up and leave." Sean Pooh sent a message. "The other reason I came is to find you. When will you leave with me? I can fly you out of this island." If Charlotte wanted to leave, he could just put down Bailing and turn around. With Sean Pooh's abilities, it would not be a problem to bring him safely out of this island. However, he could not make such a decision. He sent a message to Sean Pooh. "The Heavenly Jewel Academy is very important. It's related to that mission. I have to help them leave safely." "How many people are there in the Academy?" "About 10,000. How is that possible?" "I can help you eat some." Charlotte's forehead broke out in a few beads of sweat. He gave a bitter smile. "There's no need to eat people so easily. They have a flying ship. As long as that ship leaves, we can retreat." "Oh, right. After we leave here, immediately return to the Forest of Rest. Tell the Queen of Rest that I need her help. I want to settle the Heavenly Jewel Academy somewhere in the Forest of Rest and then build up our military there. I can help you with that, but I can't guarantee that Mother will agree." Rock Spirit sent a message. Xiaolei's message. "Your mother will agree because I've already found that clue, and killing the Blue Moon people is the first obstacle that must be destroyed in order to complete that mission. If that's the case, I think Mother will agree." "Huh, I'm finally going home." Sean Pooh roared excitedly. His voice shook the cave, and some of the unstable stalactites fell to the ground. Bailing, who had finally calmed down, fell down again. She buried her face in Charlotte's chest and said timidly, "Your friend is so scary." Charlotte smiled. "Don't be afraid. I've already told him. He won't hurt anyone. But I'm still so scared." Bailing's voice was very soft, afraid that Sean Pooh would hear her. Actually, this was not fear anymore, but coquettishness. Charlotte's hand that was holding her but pinched slightly. He smiled and said, "Are you feeling better now?" Bailing buried her face in Charlotte's chest. Her exposed ears and neck blushed shyly. "Lanji, will definitely kill her." Sean Pooh suddenly sent a message. "Boss, I know that stupid Akimis woman. She milked you, so she must want to be your mother." Charlotte was speechless. Kaboom! An earth-shattering explosion suddenly rang out above their heads. The ground shook violently, and Charlotte lost his balance and almost fell to the ground. Luckily, his body was able to adjust his bones and muscles automatically, and he instantly regained his balance. Otherwise, he would have fallen to the ground. What happened? Bailing lifted her head from Charlotte's chest. To her, the feeling of happiness was too short. Charlotte suddenly sprinted towards the academy. The Blue Moon people want to blow up this island. Bailing's face instantly turned pale. Shanpu turned around and ran. I'll create some trouble for those idiots and buy you some time. Okay, be careful. Charlotte did not stop running. He was as fast as the wind. Murphy's Law seemed to be a magic spell. Chapter 1489. The expedition's main cannon had a diameter of 1 meter, and it would take 10 minutes to fully charge it. However, this shot had flattened more than half of the volcano on the island, and the forest on the island was almost completely flattened. The shockwave of the explosion spread to the endless sea, setting off monstrous waves. It only needed one more shot, and the entire volcano would disappear. The island, which originally had a volcano, would become a flat land and disappear into the sea. This kind of rechargeable cannon was more powerful than human atomic bombs, and it did not have the radiation of atomic bombs, so would not have a bad impact on the ecological environment. In the bridge of the expedition, Lon Sidi looked at the three-dimensional projection of the explosion, and a sneer appeared on the corner of her mouth. That damn rock spirit. I'm afraid it has become a roasted cat by now, right? If it dares to disrupt my operation, I'll blow up its cat nest. An officer walked to Lon Sidi's side and said respectfully, Madam Supervisor, the captain asked me to ask you, do you still want to blow up the island? Lon Sidi said, of course. Previously, the search team said that there was a problem in the mountain. I would rather blow up the island than make the mistake of missing the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Blow it up. Charge the main cannon immediately and blow up the island. Yes. The officer accepted the order and turned to leave. The expedition's main cannon began to charge again. 10 minutes was not a long time, and Lon Sidi was willing to wait. Lil Lele's gaze suddenly shifted to the bridge window, and a shocking scene entered her vision. She was immediately stunned and raised her hand to point outside the window. Darling, you look outside. Lon Sidi also shifted her gaze, and after a glance, she was also stunned. In the sky above the bridge of the expedition, a cat with wings was peeing on the bridge. The water column ejected from its crotch was actually flying in an exaggerated straight line, flying dozens of meters away. Just as Lil Lele and Lon Sidi were looking at it, it also made extremely obscene movements at the two women. Lil Lele was stunned for a long time before she said, It's not dead. It's insulting us. Damn it. Attack, kill it for me. Lon Sidi roared angrily. She was a noble among the Blue Moon people, and she was now the head of intelligence. If she didn't do anything after being insulted like this, her reputation would be ruined, and even her family would be humiliated. Commander, activating the energy shield and sending out fighter jets will affect the main ship's cannons. Are you sure you want to do this? Asked an officer. Lon Sidi roared. Nonsense. Did you not hear my orders? Kill that rock spirit. Expedition activated its energy shield, and the fighter jets flew out of the warship like hornets. In the sky, the cat that was doing something obscene turned around and ran. It was a complete hooligan. At the same time, the entire Heavenly Jewel Master Academy was in chaos. The explosion that almost destroyed the entire mountain also shook the area. Many caves collapsed. Some students and scholars were buried alive in the caves, and some were crushed to death by the falling rocks. The branded soldiers of the Branded Legion and the preparatory soldiers of the Academy were busy saving people and maintaining order. Professor Jiang and the committee members were directing the panicking crowd to move to the spaceship. Although the scene was chaotic, it was still within the scope of control. Seeing this scene, Charlotte's heart ached, but he also felt gratified. The administrators of the Heavenly Jewel Academy were not frightened by the fear, and their minds were still calm enough. They knew that they had to move people to the Nuwa spaceship in time. "Put me down. I want to save my research materials," said Bai Ling. She was finally willing to leave Charlotte's arms. Charlotte put her down, but he grabbed her hand. "Get on the spaceship. Don't worry about those research materials. No, those things are as important to me as my life." Bai Ling wanted to break free from Charlotte's hand, but she couldn't. She said anxiously, "Let me go. It's too late." Suddenly, Charlotte slapped Bai Ling's buttocks. Charlotte used a little strength in this slap. It was not a lot of strength for him, but it was a lot for Bai Ling. With this slap, a crisp sound rang out from Bai Ling's perky buttocks. Her fleshy buttocks shook violently, creating a rather turbulent ripple. "Ouch!" Bai Ling cried out in pain, and her whole body was stunned. She looked at Charlotte, and her black crystal-like eyes were full of grievance. Charlotte glared at her and said fiercely, "Didn't you hear what I said? Are my words of no use to you?" When Charlotte used such cruel means to kill people in the laboratory, Bai Ling was not afraid. Now, Charlotte just glared at her and spoke to her fiercely, but she was actually very afraid. Charlotte scolded, "Get on the spaceship immediately. In the future, I will get whatever materials you want for you. Your materials are worthless to me. Only you and the people of the Academy are the most important. All of you have to live. Only by staying alive will there be hope." I'll listen to you," Bai Ling said timidly. Charlotte hugged Bai Ling's waist and ran towards the entrance of the spaceship. As he ran, he shouted at the top of his voice, "I am your dean, Charlotte. Now, I'm giving you an urgent order. Abandon those who can't get on the spaceship and take away those who can. Everyone must get on the spaceship within 10 minutes. If you miss this time, you will sink to the bottom of the sea along with this island." Charlotte's voice carried the energy of the branding power, and it sounded like a large bell ringing in this enclosed space. Not only could everyone hear it, but it also made everyone's eardrums buzz. As soon as this urgent order was issued, the chaotic scene became even more chaotic. Some people cursed because some people's relatives were buried in the ruins. Some people questioned Charlotte's status as a temporary dean. They felt that Charlotte had no right to issue any urgent orders. Some people rushed into the crumbling karst cave to take their valuable belongings, not taking Charlotte's order seriously at all. However, more people obeyed Charlotte's order and boarded the Nuwa spaceship as fast as possible. This was a tragedy, and it was also a microcosm of human beings in the face of disaster. Even in the face of disaster and destruction, humans could not be 100% united. Some people, no matter what the situation was, would first consider their own interests, not the future of the race. However, this was the reality of human beings. They had a beautiful side, and it was touching. However, there was also an ugly side, which made people feel helpless. Charlotte carried Bai Ling into the Nuwa spaceship and went to the bridge. Professor Jiang and the committee members were also gathered in the bridge. There were also some branded warriors from the Branded Legion, and Suyu was one of them. "Dean, there's still some people who can't retreat in time. What do we do now?" Professor Jiang was very anxious. Charlotte said, "Activate the loudspeaker system and keep repeating my order. Those who can retreat, try to wait for them. Those who can't wait must give up." "Why are you so anxious?" A committee member looked at Charlotte and said, "Some scholars are still organizing their research materials. Those things are very important to us. Please give them a few more minutes." "Yes, please give them a few more minutes. We can't abandon them. They are also one of us." There's a lot of discussion, although no one dared to question or disobey Charlotte's order in front of him. This kind of argument was also a kind of gentle protest. Charlotte said, "My friend is buying time for us. It is a rock spirit from the Forest of Rest. It is now fighting the Blue Moon People's aerospace battleship in the sky with its own power. So, how much time do you think can buy us?" The people in the bridge suddenly quieted down. No matter how powerful the rock spirit was, it could not defeat an aerospace battleship. It was easy to imagine that the time it could buy was very limited. Charlotte continued, "I know the Ahemus technology very well. I have an Ahemus Empire aerospace ship, but it is just an ordinary spaceship, not a battleship, so it can't be used in an emergency. The Blue Moon People's aerospace battleship uses AHEMIS technology. Their main cannons can be recharged for about 10 minutes. We have to get the Nuwa into the sea before the aerospace battleship attacks this island again. Otherwise, we will all be buried here. Leave alive, or stay and wait for death. Is it a difficult choice? The bridge was silent, and the atmosphere was oppressive. Did you not hear the Dean's order? Professor Jiang shouted. Execute the Dean's order. Only then did the crew in the bridge move. No one noticed that Chairman Jiang had removed the honorary part of Charlotte's title. In his mind, Charlotte was already the Dean of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Charlotte's order was repeated over and over again in the loudspeaker system, along with the reason for the emergency retreat. Those who were hesitant, those who were trying to salvage their belongings, and those who wanted to dig out the bodies of their loved ones from the ruins finally came to their senses. They panicked and ran towards the entrance of the spaceship. In 10 minutes, the survivors had all boarded the Nuwa. Charlotte gave a new order. Start the spaceship and slide into the sea. Wait for the Blue Moon People's battleship to leave before resurfacing, and then take off to the Forest of Rest. No one questioned Charlotte's order anymore. The crew in the bridge started the spaceship's engine. The Nuwa's engine roared, releasing a large amount of heat. The rocks that the engine was facing were melting quickly, and the surrounding seawater was boiling. In fact, Saleh did not know much about the capabilities of the Nuwa. However, since the Nuwa could dive to the bottom of the sea and settle down here, it meant that it was capable of diving. That was why he gave the order to enter the sea. The Nuwa spaceship broke away from the mountain, slid into the sea, and then slowly slid to the bottom of the sea. The bridge projected a three-dimensional projection of the volcano. The seawater was pouring into the mountain, and part of the volcano that had been melted was collapsing. Boom! A violent explosion suddenly sounded from the sea, and in an instant, the remaining part of the volcano collapsed. Huge rocks fell like raindrops, smashing into the sea. The place that the Nuwa spaceship had just left was buried in the blink of an eye. There was nothing left except for the huge rocks. The shockwave of the explosion swept over, bringing with it smaller rocks. The Nuwa spaceship shook violently under the impact of the shockwave, and the hull of the spaceship was also smashed by the rocks. This scene was also played in the lower cabins where the students and scholars of the academy were staying. Seeing this scene, those who were cursing Charlotte shut their mouths. No matter how much of a bastard they were, they knew that Charlotte had saved them. Even the most heinous criminals wouldn't be helpless towards their saviors, not to mention that they were all highly knowledgeable people. Only then did Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. He thought to himself, Lon Sidi, I'll remember you. The next time I see you, I'll make you die a horrible death. Mr. Xia, Professor Jiang walked in front of Charlotte. Charlotte put away his hateful thoughts and looked at Professor Jiang. Professor Jiang, what's the matter? Professor Jiang suddenly grabbed Charlotte's wrist and raised his hand high. From now on, you are the new principal of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. You are the real principal, not some honorary principal. Xia Lei was stunned for a moment. Long live Principal Xia. Suya was the first to speak. Long live Principal Xia. Principal Xia. Principal Xia. A new leader was quietly born. Charlotte suddenly thought of the Holy Thunder. Wasn't this also a reincarnation? Chapter 1490. The Nuwa spaceship glided slowly in the sea, and fish of all sizes swam past the window. Some were brightly colored and looked especially beautiful, while others looked ferocious and frightening. Charlotte stood in front of the window, watching the spaceship separate the water and chase away the fish. However, his mind was not on the water and the fish. His heart was heavy. The Lan Yu's single battleship was already so powerful, and they had several powerful fleets. How could he defeat them? How could he do something that even the Holy Lightning could not do? My plan is to move the Heavenly Jewel Academy to the Forest of Rest, and let the Academy settle down and become the technological and logistical base of Kong, Tu Nana's resistance army. However, even if I merge the Heavenly Jewel Academy and the Resistance Army, how long will it take for me to surpass the Lanyu people in terms of military power? 20 years? 30 years? Or even 100 years? As he thought of that, a bitter smile appeared on Charlotte's face. Such a plan was equivalent to rebuilding human civilization on this planet. How could such a plan be completed without a few decades, or even 100 years? If he stayed on the Hope Star for a few decades or 100 years, when he returned to Earth, would his women and children still be there? What he could not accept was that he was still alive, but his women and children had died of old age. Kong Tu Nana walked over and stood beside Charlotte. What are you thinking about? When they retreated, she was helping the students and did not see Charlotte and Bai Ling. When she came back, she realized that Charlotte had saved the entire academy. However, she did not know what had happened between Charlotte and Bai Ling. The Lanyu people are so powerful. What do I have to do to defeat them? Charlotte looked at Kong Tu Nana and asked. There was a trace of helplessness and confusion in his eyes. Kong Tu Nana shrugged lightly. That's what I wanted to ask you. After a pause, she smiled and said, However, I understand more and more. As long as we follow you, we will have hope. You are now the principal of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. When will you become the commander-in-chief of the Resistance Army? Charlotte smiled bitterly. I've already made it very clear that I will not join the Resistance Army. Furthermore, I'm only an honorary dean. I was forced to appoint myself, so it doesn't count. Kanta Nana stared at Charlotte with fervent eyes. I don't know what you're running away from, but I do know that we humans need a strong leader, just like how humans needed the Holy Thunder 1,000 years ago. The longer you run, the more we suffer. Stand up and lead us in the fight against naming. We need you. This is also your responsibility and mission. Charlotte fell silent, not knowing what to say, but he had to admit that Kanta Nana's words had touched him deeply. Kanta Nana said, You've been telling us to make the right decision all this time, right? I think you need to make the right decision too. Become our leader. Gather all our strength and lead us to fight the Blue Moon people for our survival and future. Let me think about it, Charlotte said. He could not make such a big decision so quickly. At that moment, Bai Ling walked over with a cup of hot coffee in her hands. She had a sweet smile on her face. Commander Kantu, so you're here too. What are you two talking about? Kanta Nana said, Nothing much. We were just chatting. Bai Ling found Charlotte's side and handed the cup of coffee to Charlotte. Brother Lei, you must be tired. Have some coffee to refresh yourself. Brother Lei? Kong Tu Nana was slightly taken aback by Bai Ling's intimate way of addressing him. Charlotte took the cup of coffee. Thank you. Bai Ling rolled her eyes at Charlotte. You're saying thank you to me? Charlotte smiled. Don't you all think I'm rude? I want to learn to be more refined and start with saying thank you. Kong Tu Nana pursed her lips and snickered. She obviously did not believe Charlotte's words. However, at that moment, Bai Ling suddenly hooked her arms around Charlotte's neck and kissed Charlotte's lips. Say thank you to me. I'll kiss you on the mouth. This was teacher Bai Ling's response. Kong Tu Nana's smile suddenly froze. However, right in front of her, Bai Ling used her small tongue to pry open Charlotte's teeth and stuck her tongue into Charlotte's mouth. Charlotte did not expect Bai Ling to do this. All along, Bai Ling had given him the impression that she was gentle, shy, and quiet. However, at that moment, Bai Ling seemed to have become another woman. She was unbearably hungry and extremely open. Bai Ling's tongue was in his mouth, teasing his tongue and giving him a sweet and fragrant feeling. Hence, his old habit came back. He could not resist Bai Ling's tongue kiss. Little did he know that Bai Ling had not actually become another woman. When Bai Ling kissed him, her pretty face was completely red. Even her ears and neck were blushing because of shyness. Her body was also trembling slightly, looking very nervous. The reason she had done that in front of Kong Tu Nana was to declare her sovereignty in front of Kong Tu Nana. This man is mine. Don't even think about it. Kong Tu Nana finally came back to her senses. You. Only then did Bai Ling let go of Charlotte. She pretended to be relaxed and calm, but her pretty face was as red as if she had drunk a lot. "We're together. What's going on?" Kong Tu Nana's expression became complicated. "Did I miss something?" Charlotte was embarrassed. He avoided Kong Tu Nana's gaze and pretended to drink coffee. Bai Ling brushed the bangs in front of her forehead, using this action to conceal the nervousness and embarrassment in her heart. However, she mustered up her courage and said, that, when we were outside, after that, we got together. Brother Lei is the best gift that God has given me. I'm the happiest woman in the world now. Aren't you guys too fast? Kong Tu Nana's voice was sour. Bai Ling smiled. Love has no time limit. It happens in an instant. It's beautiful. Kong Tu Nana looked at Charlotte. Say something. Charlotte shrugged. Beautiful. Kong Tu Nana was speechless. Bai Ling stared at Kong Tu Nana and said nervously, Commander Kong Tu, you will bless us, right? Kong Tu Nana grabbed Bai Ling's hand. Of course I will bless you, but I want to talk to you. Well, let's talk somewhere else. What do you want to talk to me about? Bai Ling asked. Come with me, and you'll know. Kong Tu Nana took Bai Ling's hand and walked away. Charlotte had a headache. He said, Hey, don't say bad things about me. Kong Tu Nana did not respond. Instead, she put one hand behind her back and pointed her middle finger at Charlotte. Kong Tu Nana's middle finger seemed to have poked something in Charlotte. He smiled bitterly in his heart. At most, I'll just tell Bai Ling about my story with Polisai and Lanji. Maybe I'll even tell her about me and the 8 girls. Fine, I don't care. If she really loves me, she should accept me for all I am. I'm a pervert. It's normal for her to leave me. A crew member walked over. Director, we received a signal. We need you to take care of it. Charlotte collected his thoughts. What signal? The other party sent a directional signal. Someone is trying to contact us, the crew member said. But we don't dare to answer it. Then the signal started cursing. Cursing? Charlotte suddenly realized something. What did he curse? He called us idiots. He repeated it 12 times. The crew member had a strange expression on his face. Charlotte smiled. He's my friend. Don't mind him. He's just a robot with a bad temper. Answer it. He'll bring us information from the outside. Yes, Director. The crew member turned and left. Then Yua responded and established a connection. Hao Fong appeared in the void of the bridge. As expected, he said, Damn idiots. I'm looking for my boss. Why won't you answer? Do you idiots know who I am? I'm Blaze. Charlotte coughed and walked in front of camera. Why are you cursing as soon as you see me? Tell me, what's the situation outside? Io, my beautiful boss, I miss him so much. Charlotte was speechless. Almost every crew member in the bridge had a layer of goosebumps. Hao Fong said, after sinking that island, that idiot's battleship flew away. That bastard Sam went back to the Forest of Rest. I asked him why, and he called me an idiot. I knew he was a traitor. He must have been scared by the Blue Moon People's battleship and escaped. I was the one who told him to go back to the Forest of Rest. We're going back to the Forest of Rest, so he had to go back and talk to the Queen first. Charlotte gave a simple explanation. Going back to the Forest of Rest again? That broken place? Is it safe outside? It's safe. You can come up now, Hao Fong said. Charlotte then ordered, Come up to the surface. We're going back to the Forest of Rest. The crew carried out Charlotte's order, and Yua floated up to the surface. The seawater was pushed away, creating huge waves. The silver body of the ship slowly emerged from the sea. It was a spectacular scene. Dozens of meters above the sea, an ancient spaceship was hovering. It was much smaller compared to Yua. It was like the difference between a child and a giant. Dean, is it your spaceship? Professor Jiang walked over and asked excitedly. Charlotte said, Yes, that's my spaceship, Huaxia. When we reach the Forest of Rest, can I take a look at the spaceship? Professor Jiang asked. Charlotte nodded. Of course, anyone from the Academy can take a look. Thank you, Dean. Professor Jiang was very polite. Charlotte originally wanted to correct the difference between honorary dean and dean. But when he was about to say it, he suddenly remembered what Kong Tu Nana said, so he swallowed it back down. Was that a tacit approval of his new identity? The new leader of humanity? He didn't know. In the 3D projection, Lanji suddenly appeared next to Hao Fong. She was holding a bottle of blue liquid and waved it in front of the camera. I prepared breakfast for you. When are you coming over to eat? Charlotte was speechless. Bailing and Lanji These two women will soon meet. Charlotte's head hurt just thinking about it. Women will always be his problem. Chapter 1491. One day later, Canyon of Origin. Queen of Rest stood in front of Charlotte in the form of a pure, energy, human woman. She didn't have any clothes on her body, so there were no secrets to speak of. But Charlotte didn't have any evil thoughts in his heart. In front of Queen of Rest, he felt like a child. So his last wish was to go to a planet that he had never been to before. That is your homeland. After listening to Charlotte, Queen of Rest sighed emotionally. If possible, you must fulfill his last wish. He was a great person. That's right, his corpse is also on the Blue Moon. If you can defeat the Blue Moon King Divine Yurui, you should be able to obtain the rest of his corpse. Charlotte was surprised. On the Blue Moon? Yes, a part of his corpse is on the Blue Moon, Queen of Rest replied. I understand. No matter what, I will fulfill his last wish. Then let us talk about the clue he spoke of. Queen of Rest spoke. Queen of Rest replied, I didn't think it would be in the Great Maha Desert, and I've never heard of that ancient city before. However, I think this is the message he left for you. Then there must be an ancient city like that in the Great Maha Desert. Perhaps you can find your answer there, or even complete your mission. Charlotte smiled bitterly. But Holy Thunder said that I must get rid of the Blue Moon people in this world. If I go now, I will make the same mistake as him, and then I will die. Then what do you plan to do? I don't know, no, I do have a plan, but it will take a long time to realize. I don't know what to do. Charlotte's heart was full of worry and pressure. You can't bear to part with your woman and child in your homeland, right? I can sense sorrow and longing from you. This feeling has already caused you a lot of trouble. Charlotte hesitated a bit, then tried asking, Venerable Queen of Rest, Holy Thunder told me that you have a way for me to go back. I want to go back and take a look. Can you help me? He really left me with a lot of trouble. Queen of Rest frowned slightly. I do have the ability to send a part of your soul back and stay there for a while, but your soul is not that strong. It would be dangerous to do that. If you want to go back, I can help you, but you have to at least be as strong as the Holy Lightning. Charlotte said, Are you talking about evolving my bones to the level of the Holy Thunder? If that's the standard. No, Queen of Rest replied. You and he walk a different evolutionary path. You and he will not be the same. If you really want a standard, let me think. If one day you can let your soul leave your body and pick up something, then that's fine. Charlotte suddenly thought of Isotab and Keja Ruiz. He said, In that case, wouldn't I become a body of pure energy? Of course not. Your path of evolution is based on your body. Your body and soul are evolving at the same time. And the Holy Lightning is more focused on the evolution of the body, so his bones will evolve to that level. As for you, your body is also very strong, so I can't be sure if your bones will evolve to that level or not. But I can be sure that you won't become a body of pure energy. I'm an example. You can see the appearance of my kind right now. This is my soul, but my body still exists. I can go back at any time. I understand. Thank you for telling me this. So there's no need to reject the matter of your soul leaving your body. Evolving to your level is actually very normal. Queen of Rest said. Xiao Lei nodded. I'll try my best to reach the standard you mentioned. Come find me when you reach it. Go back and do what you need to do. This is your fate. Face it bravely. Queen of Rest disappeared. The scenery in front of him returned to normal. The huge ancient tree stood under the blue sky and white clouds like a pillar that supported the sky. It was the body of Queen of Rest. It was so ancient but full of power and endless vitality. Seeing the body of Queen of Rest, Charlotte's heart was clear. The confusion that troubled him before was gone. I've always rejected the idea of the soul leaving the body, but Queen of Rest is a living example. Her soul can leave her body and go back like it's going home. I could do the same. I need to make my soul stronger as soon as possible and go home. Thinking of going home, His heart was extremely excited. Walking out of the bottom of the Valley of Origin, Sean Poo jumped down from a tree. He was holding a half-eaten apple in his claws and handed it to Charlotte. Charlotte really didn't want to eat it, but looking at Sean Poo's big eyes that were full of desire, he bit the bullet and took the half of the apple. He opened his mouth and took a small bite. Beasts were different from humans. They would only share food with you if they respected you. If you refused, it meant that you didn't see them as friends. What did my mother say? Sean Poo sent a message. Did she praise me? Charlotte nodded. She praised you for half a day, saying that you're mature, sensible, and more handsome. Meow. Ha ha. Sean Poo was so excited that it did a somersault. I knew Mother would praise me. Looking at the excited Sean Poo, Charlotte thought to himself, should I tell it that Queen of Rest didn't even mention a word about it? Boss, let's go. We should go back. Sean Poo stretched its tail in front of Charlotte. Charlotte reached out and grabbed Sean Poo's tail. Both of Sean Poo's feet stomped on the ground, and with a whoosh, he flew up from the ground and brought Xia Lei towards the exit of Origin Canyon. Now that Sean Poo had become Charlotte's personal aircraft, he was probably the only one who could fly at a speed several times the speed of sound and still hold on to Sean Poo's tail. Sean Poo landed a few dozen kilometers away from the Valley of Rest. It was a small basin surrounded by mountains, and a large river flowed through the basin. In the middle of the flatland, there were two flying ships. One was Charlotte's Huaxia, and the other was the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy's Niwa. This basin of about a dozen square kilometers was personally chosen by Charlotte for the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy. He gave the basin a very special name, Kingdom of Heavenly Province. Professor Zhang had asked him about the origin of the name, but he didn't tell him that it was the name of a province in China back on Earth. He only said that he hoped to build the basin into a paradise like heaven. Kingdom of Heavenly Province. This was the first fixed location for the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy in 1,000 years after the Blue Moon people invaded. In the center of the basin, the students and scholars of the academy, as well as the branded warriors and trainee warriors, were cutting wood and quarrying stone, preparing to build their own academy. In Charlotte's blueprint, the rebuild academy was just a starting point. In the future, this place would become a city, a country. This small basin was like a cradle. It would nurture human civilization. Idiots! Faster! 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 Beside the river, Hao Fong was commanding a large group of engineer robots to cut wood and transport wood. He looked like the evil supervisor of some construction company. If he painted some dragon, tiger, or leopard skull tattoos on his body, he would look even more like one. In an empty space beside the river, the foundation of a house had been leveled. Some engineer robots were controlling the construction machinery from the Huaxia to dig drainage ditches and lay moisture-proof stones. The entire construction site was bustling with activity. In terms of the area of the foundation, it was obvious that the building was going to be an emperor-level mansion. Hi, my beautiful boss. You're back. Seeing Sean Poo and Charlotte come back, Hao Fong ran over with a flattering smile. Charlotte praised, the progress is very fast. It's estimated that it will be built in a few days. Soon we will have a new home to live in. Hao Fong said, that's right. I personally supervise the work. It's impossible to be slow. Those stupid robots were born to work. Charlotte smiled and said, good job, but... He paused, glanced at the super large foundation with an area of almost 1 square kilometer, and said, I didn't say that we were going to build such a big house. Who told you to make the foundation so big? It was Mrs. Lan, Hao Fong said. A strange expression suddenly appeared on Charlotte's face. Lan Jie, Hao Fong said. Mrs. Lan said that she is the princess of the empire, and she wants to live in the palace. I think what she said makes sense. Boss, you should live in a super luxurious and beautiful palace so that it can match your identity. Nonsense. Charlotte said, immediately make the foundation smaller, and an ordinary house will be fine. In addition, transfer some engineer robots to support the construction of the academy. Okay, I opposed Mrs. Land's opinion at that time, but she said that she is the woman who knows you best in the world. Damn, I was cheated by that stupid woman. Hao Fong looked indignant. Okay, do as I say, Charlotte said. If he continued, he could scold Hao Fong 100 times. Boss, Mrs. Bai came to see you just now. She lives in that tent. Hao Fong pointed to one of the 3 simple tents next to the woods. She said that when you come back, you should go see her. She has something very important to tell you. Well, I have to remind you that Mrs. Lon and Mrs. Kanto's tents are also there. Well, take care. Charlotte, boss, if you don't want to go, I can tell Mrs. Bai that you have important business to do, and it is not convenient for you to meet her. Hao Fong was smart and clever. Charlotte smiled bitterly. I have to face it. Also, don't call me Mrs. Bai. Do you have so many Mrs. Bai? If others hear it, they will think that I am a playboy. Hao Fong showed a flattering smile. You are a beautiful playboy. Charlotte slapped Hao Fong's head, and then walked to the 3 tents next to the woods. Shan Pu spat at Hao Fong's feet. Stupid. Hao Fong smiled. You stupid. The 2 men's verbal abuse made Charlotte's already painful head hurt even more. He smiled bitterly. What should I do? It seems that Kanto Nana must have told some negative things about me to Bai Ling. What will she think of me? Lan Ji is a strong woman. She can't even accept policy, so how can she accept the fact that Bai Ling is by my side? One of them had a little relationship with me, and the other gave me milk. What should I do? He continued to have a headache. Chapter 1492. There were 3 tents and 3 women. When Charlotte was still talking to Hao Fong, the 3 women seemed to have seen him. When he walked towards the forest, the 3 women walked out of their tents at the same time. Kanto Nana was in a military uniform, looking valiant and heroic. Lan Ji was in a blue tank armor with a thin coat on the outside. She had an extremely hot figure. Bai Ling was in a long white dress, looking gentle and sweet. She had a beautiful face. The 3 women had 3 different styles. It was a tempting scene of mixed styles. The 3 women's gazes were focused on Charlotte. Each of their gazes was like a book with millions of words. Charlotte walked towards the 3 women and greeted them. Hi. Hello. No one greeted him. There was no smile on the 3 women's faces. They were expressionless. Charlotte smiled bitterly. What's wrong? Bai Ling said, Come with me. I have something to say to you. Charlotte nodded and walked towards Bai Ling Lan Ji, who said, Charlotte, come here. I have something to ask you. Charlotte's feet suddenly felt like they were filled with lead. He couldn't move. He glanced at Bai Ling and then at Lan Ji. He didn't know who to approach. Finally, he shifted his gaze to Kanto Nana. He realized that Kanto Nana was hugging her chest, looking as though she was watching the show. Xiao Lei cursed in his heart and thought to himself, she must have told Bailing everything and even directed this scene. What's she trying to do? She just wants the world to be in chaos. Brother Lei, are you coming over? Bailing's eyes were moist, full of grievance and sadness. Sure lie. Lan Ji changed the way she addressed him. Are you coming over or not? Do you still want lunch and dinner? On one hand, there was a small relationship, which made Charlotte feel guilty. On the other hand, there was Princess Akimis, the blue milk. Charlotte couldn't bear to part with her. Now that these 2 women were facing off against each other, even though it was just a simple matter of letting him pass, for these 2 women, this was undoubtedly an important matter for him to choose. If he walked towards Bai Ling, Lan Ji would definitely be sad. In the future, he would not be able to dream about being the Princess of Akimis. If he walked towards Lang Yi, Lark would definitely be sad. He would no longer be able to smell her alluring fragrance. Her gentleness, her sweetness, his everything would leave him. More importantly, he would feel that he owed her and would feel guilty. And the last thing he wanted to do was owe a woman. What to do? Charlotte's head was already swollen. Bailing looked at Charlotte anxiously, her lips quivering, but she didn't say anything. The tears in Hao Hao's eyes grew thicker and thicker, as if they would fall at any moment. Although Lander didn't cry, her eyes couldn't hide the anxiety and sadness in her heart. Her eyes were like those of a sick cat, making people feel pity for her. Contanana coughed and said in a slightly teasing tone, "Are you in a difficult position? You rascal, let's see what you can do. If you knew this would happen, why did you have to be so lecherous in the first place? You hurt their hearts." Saying such sarcastic words in such an occasion was simply adding fuel to the fire. Charlotte wanted to press Contanana on his knees and slap her, but until it swelled. "Brother Lay, why didn't you tell me? You have other women." Bailing's tears flowed out of her eyes. She bit her lips gently with her silver teeth, looking heartbroken. "You are engaged to me, and you drink my milk." Langier's voice was full of sadness and grievance. "Why do you still fool around with other women?" Charlotte's head was already swollen to begin with, and now it was multiplied by 2. "Say something. Why?" It was Bailing's voice. "Are you worthy of me? I am the dignified princess of Achemis Empire's last generation. I milk you every day, but you have an affair with another woman behind my back." It was Langier's voice. Charlotte's head was about to explode. "Say something." Contanana urged him. "Aren't you usually very talkative? You can even coax the birds in the sky into a pot. Don't you think you should give 2 injured women an explanation? If you continue like this, you will lose them. But it's only right. They will all leave you." Charlotte finally understood that Bailing and Langier were really forcing him to make a choice. As for the third woman, Contanana's intention was purely to cause trouble. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly revealed a naughty smile. "I have always been such a person. I am lecherous. I am perverted. You clearly know what kind of man I am. Why do you still want to get close to me? Isn't this what you asked for? Moths to the flame. I have never been a good man. I am a bad man. It's fine if you want to leave me. I won't force anyone to stay. If you want me to choose, I can't choose. But if you don't care that I am a bad man and want to be with me, my home will always be open to you. We can work together to build a home." Xiaolei spoke very quickly, and every word was clear. Only when he finished did Langier and Bailing regain their senses. The 2 women couldn't help but look at each other, their eyes filled with surprise and unwillingness. Before Bailing and Langier could say anything, Contanana couldn't help but scold him. "Shameless! How can you be so shameless? Oh, is this your choice? To let both of them be with you? You really are a greedy pervert." Charlotte rolled his eyes at Contanana. "I'm a pervert, I admit it. Also, what has this got to do with you? Why are you getting involved?" "Humph." Contanana glared at Charlotte fiercely, as if she was about to pounce on Charlotte and bite him. Bailing and Langier still didn't say anything. One was the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy's Academy Belle, one of the most outstanding women in the human world. The other was the last princess of the Zymus Empire, of noble status. How could these 2 top-quality women allow themselves to live with a man with another woman? Forget it. You can think about it yourselves. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first." Charlotte turned around and left. "You?" Bailing wanted to say something, but stopped. Her tears couldn't stop flowing. Langier also bit her lip, looking very wronged. Contanana continued to scold him. "Pervert! Pervert! You're an irresponsible man, you're..." While Contanana was scolding him, Charlotte gradually walked away. He didn't even turn his head back. Since he was a bad man, he should act like a bad man. "What do you think?" Contanana walked between Langier and Bailing and asked tentatively. Bailing turned around and entered her tent. Langier also turned around and entered her tent. "Hey, what do you mean?" Contanana shrugged. "I'm helping you. What's with your attitude? I also know about the bad things that Charlotte did in Peace Village. Are you interested in hearing about it?" A substandard spirit flew out of Langier's tent and almost hit Contanana's foot. A book flew out of Bailing's tent and almost hit Contanana's head. Contanana smiled bitterly. "I really mean well. If you're angry, you should vent your anger on that pervert. Why are you getting angry at me? Really?" Neither Bailing nor Langier came looking for Charlotte. On the first night, after returning to the Forest of Rest, Charlotte slept alone. He tossed and turned, unable to sleep. His relationship with Bailing was because he couldn't control himself at the moment and felt that he owed her. In addition, he liked her charming body fragrance, so he decided to be with her. As for Longier, he was feeding on her milk. She was the last princess of the Ahemus Empire who had yet to marry. With the deformed chastity concept of Ahemus women, they were already considered husband and wife. It was impossible for her to marry another man. He couldn't possibly not take responsibility, right? The two women felt that he owed them and should be responsible for them. That was why they decided to be with them. If it was up to him, he actually didn't want to start a family and start a career in this world. Now, that things had turned out like this, he was a monk without a brain. Let nature take its course. No matter what choice they make, I can accept it. I better not think about these annoying things. I should focus on developing the country of Heavenly Province. Lying in the captain's cabin of the Huaxia, Charlotte was thinking about the development of the country of Heavenly Province on his bed. Building aviation warships is a very distant thing. I should solve the problem of strength gap with the development of asymmetric weapons. I don't have the ability to build warships and fighter jets, but I have the ability to build more powerful energy weapons. The Forest of Rest has an astonishing amount of phosphate rock. This is a unique condition to develop energy weapons. I should also add energy missiles. Starting the construction of an academy in the Forest of Rest was equivalent to starting from scratch. However, he grasped the technology of the Ahemus people. In addition, he also had the technology from Earth and the technology developed by the humans of this world. If he could combine the two, he would obtain a new technological system. Learning from each other's strengths to make up for his weaknesses might not necessarily lead to a new development path. The Ahemus people were defeated by the Blue Moon people. The humans were also defeated by the Blue Moon people. These two suffering races had a common enemy, and that was the Blue Moon people. If I want to revive the human civilization, I want to defeat the Blue Moon people. With just my strength, it is definitely not enough. I should ally with the Ahemus people. Isn't there a secret settlement in the Ahemus Empire? I should let Longier contact them. Other than that, the beasts in the Forest of Rest are also trapped by the Blue Moon people. I am an ally of the Queen of Rest. I should also contact the Blue Dragon tribe and even the Blue Tan tribe and the Rock Spirit tribe to form an alliance with them. Other than that, the humans have underground cities all over the world. I should also contact the people in charge of those underground cities and combine their strength. Ideas after ideas emerged. Charlotte's brain was also processing these ideas at the same time, giving him suggestions one after another. Slowly, a blueprint for developing the Heavenly Province was formed in his brain. That night, Charlotte spent his time thinking about these problems. He did not sleep for even a minute. When the sun rose, he left the Huaxia and arrived at the construction site of his new home. Hao Fong and the engineer robots did not need to sleep at all. They did not rest last night and had been working the whole time. Idiots! Faster! 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 If I find anyone slacking off, my whip will not recognize you. Hao Fong's voice could be heard from afar. It must have scolded them for the whole night. It was addicted to scolding people. Under the hard work of Hao Fong and the engineer robots, the place that was just a foundation yesterday had walls and a part of the roof. At this speed, he would be able to live in his new home in at most 2 days. Charlotte wanted to go over and take a look, but he gave up the idea in the end. What could he say to Hao Fong? It was nothing more than listening to him scold the engineer robots. Charlotte's gaze shifted to the side of the forest. He saw the 3 tents. Should he go over and take a look? Forget it. When this idea appeared, Charlotte smiled bitterly. They must still be angry. If I go over, won't I be looking for trouble? I should go to the spirit mine to take a look and ponder the evolution path of the Holy Thunder. I might not necessarily follow his evolution path, but it might not be a bad thing to study it. The universe brand trembled, and the power of the brand spread out in an instant. A few seconds later, a blue shadow suddenly descended from the sky. "Boss, why did you summon me?" Sam asked as he handed Xiaolei a piece of banana that he had just eaten. Charlotte took a bite. "Bring me to the nearest spirit mine." "Okay." Shan Pu stretched out his tail, and when Charlotte caught it, it flew away with a whoosh. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.